Francisco, just as lethal as ever, if not more.
Dante with a one-clip on Decay as well. They are styling on the Justice.
Burp Shadow comes through. Jacob TP behind them. I don't believe what I've just seen.
The Houston Outlaws have done it. There's a new sheriff in town.
Definitely just bringing down every target that he sets his sights on.
Two! You have got to be joking!
Toronto bringing some serious firepower now. Oh, I saw that nano boosted demon going down the well.
The Boston Uprising have put on a masterclass.
Naga on the Tracer, he's going to come up huge now. Wonderful tracking from Naga. The stick comes through, he's just about clutched it for them.
Unreal! The Paris Eternal have done it! What a reverse sweep! Mag. Oh, he's absolutely unhinged, man! I can't believe what I've just seen! That's another stunner. Knocked to the ground by Mag. Unstoppable on the Rhine so far. These Earth Shatters are sublime.
Jeremy's getting nervous.
What's up and welcome to the Watchpoint pre-show. I'm your host, Jonathan Reinforced Larsson. With me as always, it's Danny Lim, it's Scott Costa Kennedy, and Zoe, I lost a bet. Schwinn. Didn't do so well in the talent takedown, did we? And here I am. I'm the host now. This is how it goes, okay? Zoe, you look a little bit sad over there. Are you okay? Are you alright?
You're lucky that this is a virtual set. Otherwise, I would throw tiny fists right now.
Oh,
Hold me back,
so
Costa.
frightened.
Hold me back.
Fight!
Hold me back.
So frightened.
No one's holding you back.
No one's holding me back. Well, in that case,
I'll hold you back.
wait until I get over there.
It's not worth it.
The thing is, I feel like it's still a W for me. Cause I mean, hosting is a lot of work, right? So
No.
you
I
kind
don't
of
do
play
any work.
yourself.
See?
No.
That's
so you're just a
Guys,
lazy
guys,
host.
So,
Guys,
I
here
just
it
wing
comes.
it.
Best
What?
segue
Yeah, can't have that.
into our next block from Johnny. Go Johnny. Show us what you got.
No.
Oh,
No.
yeah, coming up, of course.
No,
Up next,
no, I'm not
we
having
have-
it. You know what? Today's a very important day. We don't have time for lazy hosts, and I
What?
still have all the hosting powers. Because,
No.
Jokes on you. You can swap places all you want. You don't have the power. You want to witness my power? If I snap my fingers,
I
I'm going
just
to be
want to go
hosting
through
it.
brackets, really. Do we
No
have to
way.
do this?
Snap your
can I
fingers?
just-
Yeah.
Oh!
Hey! Hey!
Is that you, Thanos?
Brooke, sure.
Right.
So
Yeah,
where are your
Thanos
rings?
who? Thanos who?
Where are your rings?
Well, that's it, Johnny. That was your chance. And if you don't want me to snap you away altogether, better behave for the rest of the show.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right.
You couldn't
Yeah.
do
Okay.
that, so, you know.
The fear of Zoe in them. That's right. Well, guys, we do have a lot to go through, so let's get the show going. The regular season is over, so you know what? It's time to take a look at final standings. Once again, starting with the Eastern region, where the Shanghai Dragons, as well as the Chengdu Hunters, were clinching their spots in the playoffs. And now, Dynasty, Fusion, as well as Spark, they do advance to tonight's East Region play-ins, which is one spot on the line. Now, based on their overall performance so far this season, which of those teams do you deem the most worthy to advance to the playoffs?
Well, speaking of hosts, I think I'm worthy. But speaking about the teams for the Eastern
Oh.
region play-ins,
Okay.
I mean,
I'll
Seoul
take
Dynasty, they went 12-4 in the regular season.
Yeah.
That's very impressive, very consistent. So, Seoul Dynasty, I think you should consider them the favorites in this bracket. But that being said, I mean, Fusion, they're looking stronger as of recent. Funny Astro and Alarm now in the backline finally. Some of those Western players have made their way to Korea to play with the rest of the team. Philadelphia Fusion, bit of a dark horse. They could sneak their way past Hangzhou and Seoul Dynasty to claim their spot in the playoffs later on.
Well, we'll find out tonight. Now, moving to the Western region, the Dallas Fuel, LA Gladiators, as well as Atlanta, they will compete in Hawaii. And the question we will answer today, or rather this entire weekend, is which two teams will join them? San Francisco Shock, Houston Outlaws, they have the higher seeds, so they won't have to play until tomorrow. So today we'll be treated to two bangers, the Washington Justice against the Paris Eternal and the Boston Uprising against Toronto Defiant. Now, don't forget that tonight the Shock will choose their opponent live once all the action is done. Yeah, any thoughts we have here on that bracket? Do you have any clear favorites to go through?
Personally, I have the San Francisco Shock and the Houston Outlaws as the favorites to progress into the actual playoffs, but it's hard to determine a dark horse because I think actually all of the bottom four, the Paris Eternal, the Washington Justice, the Boston Uprising, and the Toronto Defiant, all have opportunity and have played at a level that can beat all of these other teams. So it's going to be about who shows up and whose style really sort of pushes them over the edge. Obviously, I think the favorite dark horse is the Washington Justice. The real question is, are they going to be good? Are they going to live up to expectations? Just for once this season, please, Washington. That's all I ask.
Today where it matters the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, last season I felt like everyone got a shot, right? Due to the circumstances. So, but yeah, no, I agree with you, Danny. Like, they made their shot worth their while last season. Whether or not they deserve to have a shot in the first place, that's a different discussion. Which I totally brought up. Like, I can't get over. Someone's still salty. Is it me? Maybe. No, but obviously they had a phenomenal run last season, so maybe they can make a repeat performance this time around. Who knows? Who knows? Now, as we enter into the playoffs, we do expect the meta to shift ever so slightly, as there are no hero pools for the remainder of the 2021 Overwatch League season. Now, Reinforce, many teams took a liking to the bizarrely intelligent giant Moon Hamster. Walk us through the rise of Wrecking Ball.
Yeah, I mean, this is very interesting, and this has been the story throughout the year. I think we started off the year and we didn't see a ton of Wrecking Ball play. Obviously, there was some. And if we can actually take a look at the Wrecking Ball hero usage throughout the season, we can see that towards the tail end of the season, we've seen a lot more Wrecking Ball play. So at the start of the season, 22% hero usage in the entire league, 13% in the June Joust. Didn't get a lot of love in that tournament. But then later on, Summer Showdown, 27.5%. And finally, in our last stage, the Countdown Cup, 51.1%. Wrecking Ball is a hero that's been featured more and more among the Overwatch League teams, and as we head into the play-ins and later on the playoffs, of course, coming up later this fall, the question is, are we going to see a lot more Wrecking Ball? You mentioned that there's no hero pools in the play-in tournament, so now with all heroes unlocked, is that going to mean that we see less of the Wrecking Ball, more of the Wrecking Ball? Are teams that have practiced this hero going to utilize their skills in these upcoming matchups, or with no hero pools available, are they just going to lean back on the typical rush composition with the Reinhardt? Are they going to go back to Winston dive? I think that is going to be the big question as we review the meta going into the play-ins.
Absolutely. Now, I kind of hope that you would answer any of the questions, but there we go. Just more questions for all of us. But I think it's fair to say that we do expect to see some ball being played at least, since teams did take a liking to it. Now, Costa, we've seen all sorts of cons throughout the entirety of the season so far. Now, with the hero pools closed, that really opens things up, right?
And that's it. So the last time we actually saw no hero pools was in the Summer Showdown. So we're actually going to have a look at a hero usage graphic right now, where we'll be able to sort of like get a test. As you can see, the ones that were banned most recently in the Countdown Cup was the Lucio, the Sigma, the Ashe, and the Echo. But you don't really see a lot of any of those in the hero usage from the Summer Showdown. The only one that's really worth talking about is the Lucio at 34.2%. And that was primarily in the West. The West were a region that really wanted to play this brawl, slower style and just sort of like run at the opposition. That is what the West is known for. But that didn't work for them in the Summer Showdown. We saw at the very end, it was the Chengdu Hunters taking on the Shanghai Dragons, and the rise of ball really began to sort of take hold, as Johnny just said. So the question I have for these play-ins and the playoffs, is the West going to try and go back to that style? Are they going to play their Symmetra, Lucio, Brawl, bread and butter, or are they going to try and adopt to the Wrecking Ball as well and take them head on? I honestly don't have an answer to that either. Sorry, I'm just posing more questions. That's the team's job to answer.
All right, 3 times the charm. Danny, you gotta have something for me. Besides Torb, which hero do you want to see?
Besides Torb, I really want to see Bastion. Hey, share the love,
Danny,
right?
no.
We haven't seen Bastion. We haven't seen Bastion all season. No, I'm just kidding. No, please don't do that. But I mean, I personally think, with no hero pools, I think this is a great time for players and teams to really play to their strengths. So I want to see, just heroes that they're good at. If a team's really good at double shield, run double shield. If you're good with Winston dive, run with Winston dive. Wrecking Ball, if you're good with Wrecking Ball, go with Wrecking Ball. If you're good with Genji, run Genji, although Custom might say otherwise. But yes, that's what I want to see.
Okay, so you just want chaos and a little bit of everything, and you want to see Costa getting upset. Clearly, we don't have all the answers, so I think there's a great opportunity to check in with our very favorite non-cable news network. News team, assemble! welcome to the Owl News Network. Some sad news, as this will be our final broadcast covering the Overwatch League. We are rebranding to the Old Timer News Network, where we will be covering stories that we made up to scare boomers. It's just much, much more profitable. Our first story. John Spector announced that the Overwatch League 2022 season will begin in April of next year. In a cruel and yet hilarious twist of fate, we were unable to reach any esports journalists for comment. Funny how that works, isn't it? Now, recently, San Francisco players faced off in a one-person keyboard, one-person mouse, Widowmaker 1v1. Smurf and Joy defeated the team of Super and Uns, proving once and for all that there does exist an object so heavy that even ants can't carry it. Former Paris Eternal tank player Ben Best, to the surprise of absolutely no one, has decided to pursue a career as a professional model. Which is great news for us, because now we get to show you his picture again. Just an indescribable chat aura radiating off that man. Should have sent a poet. Anyway, finally, I usually sign off by mocking our Owl News Network writers, but you know what? I'm above that. I'm beyond that. Besides, they've done a pretty good job of making a joke out of themselves all year long. Yeah? Now, Costa with a meta forecast.
Polls closed and the meta is wide open. It's gonna be mayhem out there. No, not that mayhem. They're out of here, okay? So the forecast is gonna be all over the place, so your guess is as good as mine. Well, actually, they pay me to do this, so my guess is better than yours. So let me take a crack at it, okay? Then, in the West, be on the lookout for Hard Light, as Symmetra might make her grand return, and not just on Control. So you might see a little bit of play on some of the Assault maps. Also be on the lookout for everyone's favorite new barn animal improved, I don't know, as we keep an eye on the Neo Goats, as Moira might make her grand return as well, as she tries not to cross the streams. Oh baby, lastly in the West, the sighting that makes this reporter very, very happy, it's everyone's favorite multipoint, it's Lucio. Oh baby, oh yeah, expect some brawl, especially in Texas. Oh, and in the East, as always, bring an umbrella, because we got justice raining from above, as always, especially in the Chengdu Valley. But as always, in the East, some things never change, as we have Wrecking Ball. What's that over there? Oh yeah, it's Wrecking Ball. Oh, what's that over there? Also Wrecking Ball. What's that? Yep, you better believe it. It's Wrecking Ball. Whoo, baby! That's it for the meta forecast today, and for my Australian friends out there, be careful, they just discovered a soil that's fatal to look at. So let's head over to Danny Lim at the Overwatch League stock market. Danny, what do you got for us?
Danny Diamond Hands Lim here, live on the floor of Overwatch League Stock Exchange, and I can tell you that the market is going wild. It is complete mayhem. No, not that mayhem. San Francisco Shock stocks look, coincidentally enough, like a seismograph. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. Their stock has the stability of a shack in an earthquake. Also of note, the Washington Justice have experienced an incredibly surprising high buy volume. When asked, one experienced investor simply shrugged and told me, well, you can't get any lower. Excuse me, one desperate investor has been just harassing me all morning. Sir, for the last time, Dogecoin isn't a real currency, and no, Valiant cannot make a comeback in the playoffs, okay? For God's sake, man, get your life together. In the Eastern markets, a hint of stability. Shanghai continues to be a blue chip stock. Conservative investors view it as a safe buy. Those seeking out volatility and risk have opted to go all in on Chengdu, as they expect the stock to break through the skybox in the coming weeks. Whoa, it seems like we're experiencing some sort of event. The ground is shaking. Hold on for dear life. Hold on.
Yes, thank you. I'm here at ground zero of the meta destruction, and it is absolute mayhem. No, not that kind of mayhem. The real mayhem. The destruction mayhem. The meta industry, represented by Spectre's Meta Merchandise Mart, has come under attack. It appears a wrecking ball, the wrecking ball, is destabilizing the very foundation of the meta. Good God, can no one stop this wanton destruction? The world's top monkeys, top scientists, of course, are dumbfounded and experiencing widespread existential crisis. When reached out for comment, one Winston said, "What's the point? Do I even exist anymore?" Reinhardt mains have cowered behind the safety of their shields, whimpering backwards, my friends. Hide! As the chaos brought on by Ball continues to spread, only one group, labeling themselves the Battle Cattle, have been able to offer any sort of resistance. But it may be short-lived. If we can listen in, you can hear the truly horrifying sounds of this unhinged wrecking ball. I don't know what that means. Anyway, why do you keep sending me to these places? I haven't seen hamsters go on a rampage like this since the wood shaving shortage of '68. I mean, we lost a lot of good tanks that year. Now, I've been told from officials at the Spectre organization that as a desperate last resort, they are considering bringing in Sombra. That would be truly awful, but maybe that would be the answer. God help us all. We will continue to cover this catastrophe as it develops, but for now, only one thing is for certain. Ball, don't lie. All right, that's it. I quit. I'm done.
Welcome back everyone to Watchpoint. Today's second match is an elimination bout between the Boston Uprising and the Toronto Defiant, and it's safe to say that both of these teams are underdogs to make a deep run in our playoffs. Now, we've seen it before. Sometimes it does just take getting hot at the right time. So let's take a look at how hot or not both of these teams are by taking a peek at their last 5 matches. That's right, starting with Boston. Good guy Boston once more showing mercy on a winless team and take the L for everyone. So just to keep the hopes and the dreams of their opposition alive. That's very nice. Very nice. Now, can't be too mad about an L against the dominant Gladiators or 2-time champion Shock, of course. So overall, yeah, the last 5 don't look too good, but we've seen worse. Let's go with that. Now, let's take a look at the opposition. Toronto, last 5 matches. A very different look than what we just looked at from Boston, and seems like they are Paris's kryptonite. They too had 2 rough opponents in the mix with the Rain as well as the Shock, so those losses you shouldn't fret about if you're playing for them or if you're cheering them on. Now, when they face off against middle of the pack teams, it does seem like they are getting the upper hand more often than not, which should bode well for today's match. Now, Reinforce, it wouldn't be a Watchpoint episode if we didn't give you at least 5 minutes to poetry slam about any kind of tank line. So stage is yours.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I love talking about it. Thanks. Yeah, the Boston Uprising so far this season. I mean, they've been playing more of the sturdier tanks, and I find this very interesting going into today's matchup. We've seen the Toronto Defiant, they like playing this Hangzhou, and they like playing these compositions that can often break apart these slower compositions from your opponents. But the Boston Uprising, they've been leaning into those slower, sturdier compositions. So if we take a look at the hero usage for tanks so far this season, against the league average, you can see that they play a lot more Winston. That's their preferable hero when they play dive. But both Reinhardt and Orisa, they have a higher pick rate on those heroes than the current league average on your right-hand side. Specifically, the Wrecking Ball, they play a lot less Wrecking Ball compared to the league average. You can see 12% hero usage for Boston, while the league average sits around 29%. So that's more than double what the Boston Uprising uses currently. So this Boston Uprising team, going into today's matchup against the Toronto Defiant, I think if you're Toronto, you can expect Boston to play more of these Orisa compositions, more of these Reinhardt compositions. Maybe we'll see them bring out the Torbjorn. We know that M37 is a great hit scan player, and that will be what they're leaning against. So the question for this matchup will be, how will Toronto Defiant break that apart? What kinds of compositions will Toronto Defiant utilize to take down these shields and try to find these picks onto the Boston Uprising members?
Yeah, as you just broke it down, Boston definitely marches to the beat of their very own drummer. Danny, they are also more than willing to play here and there some off-meta damage dealer.
Yeah, throughout the season, I mean, we've seen Boston utilize some off-meta damage heroes. Most notably, I would say Valentine's Genji has been very impressive. And surprisingly enough, they've, made it work. And I know Custa really hates seeing Genji, but honestly, in my honest opinion, no hero pool. I mean, this is the perfect time, and also we do have to factor in the fact that this could be Boston's last game. So why not, go with your comfort pick, go with the hero that you know that you could perform well on. So even if that could be, Genji and a Genji being off meta pick, some people might not like it, but at the same time, this might be the last game, so please just, I honestly just want to see what heroes that they're really good at and they're comfortable at. And we're looking at the stats right here. Basically, top 5 for Final Blows, top 5 for Dragon Blades, blah blah blah. The very important thing I think is that Valentine's Genji never dies. That's it. That's what I want to point out. He never dies. Yeah, look at that. Never dying Genji. That's very impressive.
I love the positivity you bring, to looking at the stats. Is like, he does die, but just because he's first, it doesn't mean he never dies. But I guess if we go by the eye test, and in your heart, he just never dies. Now, Costa though, if we're looking at the opposition here, they too rely on a Shimada brother. However, theirs is Hangzhou, and he's been popping off.
Yeah, and we're sort of questioning how the Toronto Defiant are going to get this win and how they're going to make their run through the playoffs. And I think you just got to let loose the Heese. Just let Hisu play his comfort heroes and let him carry this team to victory, because his Hangzhou in the Countdown Cup was absolutely ridiculous. Just appreciate, as I talk, just appreciate how much work he does. And I want to see the entire Toronto Defiant team rally around this right there. And here's the thing is, I like the way that Toronto is playing when they have Sato being a very selfless player on that Wrecking Ball, creating a lot of space. And that gives Lastro and Hisu so much space to just sort of pump out damage from the backline. So if I think Toronto can sort of tap in, if they can just tap into that for this match and going onwards, I think that's their best look. I think Wrecking Ball will be very much meta, and I think the Toronto Defiant are peaking at the right time, as you said, Zoe, if they play this composition.
Very
The Heese is actually my favorite thing now. Just throwing that out there. Now, yeah, well, perhaps the start of a regional rivalry awaits us in that matchup. Not that the players care, but we love to make up rivalries which don't exist in the first place. But first up today, we do have Paris and Washington facing off against one another, and we will be breaking down that match right after the short break.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
welcome back to Watchpoint. Today's first match is between the Paris Eternal and the Washington Justice. Now, Paris seemed to gain momentum as the season went on, and we saw last year just how dangerous Washington can be if you give them a chance in the playoffs. Now let's take a look once again at the past 5 matches of both of those teams to see how their performing has been recently. Starting with Washington, which unfortunately, I mean, this team has just been underperforming most of the season. And if you're a Washington player or a diehard fan, just know that I sound angry, and that's because I care. Because we all know that you can do better, okay? You are better than this. You got a great roster, and it does not have to be this way, you know. That said, their social media manager will get my post of the year award, I guess, if that were a thing, for their Olympia medal meme after their last victory. Nothing is as funny as self-awareness. So hands down, funniest post any team has made all season long. So take that W. So that means you have 2 W's on this board as far as I'm concerned. Now, nice. Gotta take them as they come. Now, Paris. Let's take a look at Paris and their last 5 matches. Now, okay, there's just 2 W's, but hear me out. I'm going to be a Paris apologist here, quelle surprise. But I genuinely think that this team has performed way above everyone's expectations this season. I think they showed us a lot of good looks, a lot of promise, honestly. And going 8-8 and taking away a W from a team such as Dallas, I mean, you gotta be proud of that. You gotta feel good about that. You gotta feel good about yourself. And what makes Paris' season so much more impressive is that they really had to make roster adjustments throughout the year. Dridro was a great pickup, but they really struck gold with Vestola, Danny.
Yeah, so I think, like you said, I've been thoroughly impressed with the Paris Eternal team as in general, but I think out of all the players, I personally believe Vestola has impressed me the most. Yeah, he is right there. Thank you, production. The lower third, simply the best Tola. Yeah, out of all the Tolas, I think Vestola is the best Vestola.
How many Tolas are there?
I don't know. Dozens. There's a lot of people in the world. Yeah, I mean, his ability to like negate ults, peel for the backline, and also getting the kills, and you know, his ult usage as well. I think he is one of the better divas in the league that we have. So I'm super excited to see how he perform in today's match.
Right on. I can't get over the lower thirds. Yeah, Productive has been crushing those today. I just Pistola. Yeah, when he demixed and takes out his Pistola, like Pistola's unstoppable. I had to get one in. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Is there another one?
Sorry, that's a lie.
Is there another and then he drops the Mechola.
Give me some time.
Then throws the Diva Bomb. I don't know. I'm stretching now. Okay, we'll move on.
Can we move Ola?
Yeah, sure.
Trick Solo.
Let's check back in with Wrecking Ball, because a lot of teams, you know, they crack the code, but Washington ain't one of them.
Yeah, I think how we sum up the season of the Washington Justice is they could, but they just don't. And that was even more accentuated in the Countdown Cup when they played this Wrecking Ball composition that should work for them. They have great players on all of those roles. They have Mag on the Wrecking Ball, they have Assassin on the Sombra, Decay on Tracer, Fury on Diva. It should just be the secret sauce for the Washington Justice, but it wasn't. Look at these overall teamfight win rate when they're playing the Wrecking Ball dive at only 47%, at 9th in the league, compared to their overall win rate on other compositions at 49%. So they're really struggling to make this composition work. And the 2 players I really want to highlight here is Mag on that Wrecking Ball. He's just too passive. He's not playing with the confidence that we know he should have. Coming from One-Away, he was considered to be one of the Rookie of the Year candidates coming in, but he hasn't shown that performance. Needs to step up in the playoffs now. And the other one has to be Assassin. Talk about a player with the yips, someone who is just a great player who was playing well, and then just can't string it together right now at the final stretch. His Sombra was just absolutely brutal to see, Johnny.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, though, you've talked a lot of, not trash, but you know, you put down the Washington Justice. And look at my boy. I mean, look what you've done to him. The Washington Justice, though.
He's just they've shown us right now. It's fine, Johnny. Don't worry about it.
They've shown us that they can, though. I mean, let's look at this graph with the Assassin and his power rankings on Sombra so far this season. they've shown that they can do it. Look at this rating. This is absurd, okay? Assassin on Sombra in the power ranking score. He was pushing the high 130s, almost 140, and the usual average norm, it lies around 100. So that just tells you how good he was on this hero. But as you can see, it slumped down heavily. Summer Showdown towards the end of Countdown Cup. I mean, it was horrible, tragic, below 100 towards the 95, 90s. So, as Costa said, recently it hasn't looked good for the Washington Justice. But, as we can clearly see here, they have shown us earlier on this season that they are genuinely capable of great performances. They are capable of performing with the very best teams in the league. But it has to start with a confident performance today in this matchup. And you know, sometimes it sounds like a meme, just be confident, just do it. But it's a bit in the intangibles, you know. But we know that when a Widowmaker goes on those big flanks, they're confident that they can get those headshots. We've seen the big difference for a Reinhardt player when they're feeling confident. They feel like they can go for those flank Earth Shatters or just jump past the enemy shield. So similarly for Assassin today and his Sombra and the rest of the entire team, to be honest, it has to start with confidence. I'm not saying that will be the difference maker that pushes them to be the likes of Dallas Fuel or Shanghai Dragons, but it has to start there. So I want to see them come out today, be aggressive, try to make plays, and maybe then we'll see the great Washington Justice we were promised at the start of the season.
That's right. It's all about the confidence, you know, you just gotta hold on to that confidence. There's a lot of great example where just being confident in what you're doing has worked out fantastic, such as Danny's prediction, right? Like you go in and you show confidence.
Not now, not now, Zoe.
Hey, I'll have you guys know.
It is time to reveal our predictions.
The last tournament, I got my pred right, and you guys all got it wrong. The last one.
Which time?
Okay, that's great,
Gladiators versus
Danny.
Chengdu.
Sure.
I got one.
See,
Hey, let me just have this
we're all
one
about that
win.
positivity. Thank you. You get all the W's.
Oh, thank you guys. Oh,
that's right. Now let's take a look at the picks for today's matches. I want to see if we're aligned in which teams we picked for that one. So let's just drop them.
Oh,
okay.
So
okay.
All right.
Defend yourself.
Please. No, I think you guys have to defend yourselves with that Washington pick. I don't feel like I need to defend myself. Honestly, I don't.
I'm baffled.
They can be good.
I'm baffled. Yeah, yes, they can be good. But
I'm
more
betting
often
on the
than not,
potential.
they're dropping
Betting
the
on the
spaghetti and every
potential.
other pasta available to them. I don't know. I got burned.
but
I can't.
Maybe this time, Zoe.
That's how we. All right.
I'm losing
Let me
confidence.
guess. You
found-
Johnny
faith.
You
speaks.
found another.
Do you want to
That's
stop
it.
us?
The
No.
shield
This
again.
is the last
That's
time
how
I'm
you
gonna
made
bring
your
this up.
prediction.
He found it in the
Washington.
car trunk. That's all that matters.
Washington,
Okay.
you can do it. All right. You have to show us. You have to prove to us. All right?
Last time you brought that out, they lost to Toronto, Danny. I'm worried.
That's true.
Okay, I'm
No,
worried.
I think they lost twice. I think I brought this twice last time, and they lost both of them.
And you bring it up again when we've all predicted Washington.
Hey,
Third time's the charm.
Third time's
No,
the charm,
oh my
guys.
God.
Third time's the charm. Let's go, baby.
I genuinely
Unlucky.
cursed.
Sometimes it be that way. Yeah, this might be cursed for you
Break
guys. I
it.
don't know. I just
Break
honestly,
it.
I think as far as performance go, I think the Paris Eternal have been more reliable. I think they showed us a lot of very strong looks, and they had enough time to really prepare for this match. They know what they're going to face off against, because I don't think that Washington Justice has been, you know, too out there in terms of the different strats they can actually play, the different tempos they can play. So I do think if Paris Eternal is coming prepared, they got it. Now that's it for the Watchpoint pre-show. Now we get the payload moving. So buckle up, everyone. It's Uber X time for this wild ride.
Thank you very much, Des. Good to be back here. What's up, Matt? You've got you've got that bloody sweater on.
Got the babysitting hoodie on. The babysitting hoodie
Unreal.
on. Yeah,
Hey, can I just say, listen, you know everything you need to know about Zoe when she's the only one that predicts a team, and she's trying to make everyone else explain themselves, as opposed to her defending her pick. That tells you everything you need to know about exactly who Zoe is.
Smart.
Oh, look, I go in
They
the
weren't
last
even
segment.
able. They weren't able to defend.
I know, because you're a more
Go.
dominant personality than they are. You just steamroll them like always,
You're
Zoe.
right, Zoe. You're right. You're right, Zoe.
Come
You're right.
Come on. I know
Hey,
my
Johnny,
place,
it's fair.
Mitch. Okay?
Also-
you don't have to do it yourself.
Johnny, the clock at the top that says like 5 minutes when we're in that last segment, that means it's supposed to come to us in 5 minutes, not talk over the assassin graphic for 5 minutes. That's what that means. You know,
Hey, listen,
I'm
we
just
actually
doing the viewers
Johnny,
a favor, man. What's the problem?
Johnny loves trading, right? And every time he gets a graph, he's just going to go to town on it there.
I gotta do a
use
viewer.
those often, right?
I got a
pretty
favor
bottom.
for a viewer.
It's bottom, Mitch. You saw the assassin graph.
Yeah,
it's bottom.
I did.
It can
That's
only
when
go
you-
up from here, okay? I mean, people have given up. Yeah, everyone at the desk, we've capitulated at this point. It can only go up from here.
I got a favor for a viewer before we go.
All right, Matt, go on. Do your thing.
Yeah, I was playing some games with John the other day. John got to play the game.
Quick
so
play,
he
by the
wanted
way.
me to shout him out. Yeah.
Nice.
And then there was another guy who asked to be shout out, but I forgot his name. But I'm pretty sure it began with a B.
Oh my god.
So you know who you are out there. It began with a B. I'm pretty sure.
I got you, fam.
I'm like 60% sure it began with a B. But he was like, "Yo, if you're the real one, shout me
And
out."
Johnny's
So
the
there
one
it is.
wasting time here.
I forgot.
Johnny's the one.
He knows who he is, right?
He knows. Yeah, he knows. We had a moment. Yeah, he knows.
I tell you what, it's the finesse of the century that Matt gets paid for this. He's unreal. All right, we'll leave you guys' desk and we'll catch up with you on the other side of this match here as well.
I play with so many people. I forgot his name.
Oh, God.
Forgot his
Okay.
name.
Yeah, I bet you threw his game too. You bastard. All right, let's jump in here. Our first match, of course, here in our playoffs.
Quick play.
Okay, mate. Yeah, like that makes it any better. It's all on the table here for these two teams, right? The Washington Justice, Matt. I mean, it's the trough of their season. They're not really peaking at the right time. Last year, they absolutely peaked at the right time. It was a Roadhog Zarya meta, and this team came alive. The problem is they'd already been disqualified from making it into playoffs. They'd already sort of been mathematically eliminated. I've got a little secret for you. On this patch, Roadhog gives 25% less ult charge.
That's not.
I'm just saying.
You're not going to see Roadhog.
All right,
I'd
well.
be stunned.
All right, I'm just saying there might have been a chance. Anyway, look, the Paris Eternal, Matt, they've definitely... I saw that Plat Chat episode at the start of the season, right? We ranked all the teams, and yeah, it's really easy to go back, and hindsight's 2020. But you guys ranked them at number 18 out of 20 in the league. They come in here, what does that say? Number 8, and with a chance to make it to playoffs here. So they've definitely impressed us and subverted a lot of expectations we had early in the season.
Yeah, and I think the rankings earlier in the season were pretty well justified, right? When you looked at the two EU teams, I don't think any of them you were ranking that highly, and everybody thought that London would be better coming into the season, but Paris has definitely proved that to be wrong, obviously, throughout the year. Some big pickups, obviously, through the season, with Pistola coming in to play the off-tank, and then I know having Dridro coming in to play the support, main support. But I feel like this is a series that the Paris Eternal can win. I think this is a Justice team that you look at roster v roster and you're like, well, the Justice should easily be able to win this. But when you kind of look at how they play and eye test, the Justice just have not hit that potential, while Paris has potentially kind of reached over the expectations of what we thought of.
And look, Paris Eternal fans have a lot to be excited about right now. No hero pools means Naga can go back to that Echo. He had an extremely outsized impact on that hero at multiple times. Only got I cover the camera when I pick my nose too, mates. Okay. But we should expect to see Naga be a real dominant force here. We've had a lot of talk about Dridro, right? There's a conversation that he's the best Western Brigitte player in the league right now. I don't think that's too hard to sort of make a case for. But Khan is the scrappiest of scrappy. His honor is incredible, Matt. He's number 1 for biotic grenade kills, so he's going for those like cross-map bio-nade. Yeah. And the follow-up is really good from the front line, and of course, Naga. That's it, Don. Get yourself some caffeinated beverage in you, mate. Yeah. I mean, he's ready to roll here. And of course, going up against the Paris Eternal
I think he's trying to show off
Justice.
I think that's the vanilla version.
Yeah, it is. It's a vanilla version. Okay.
I haven't seen that.
A little bit off the wall. Haven't had that in a while. All right, the Washington Justice, Matt. Again, we've been critical of them recently now, of course, as Closer goes up against his previous teammate there and Only God. But it's safe to say Mag's wheelhouse is much more about that Reinhardt and Winston play than it was sort of the Wrecking Ball. Mag looked very, very good in the Reinhardt rush comps in double bubble setups here. So this is his time to re-establish himself as a top tank contender in the league at a very crucial point in the year.
This is the 6th place team in the West. Coming into the season, people were talking about them being one of the top 2-3 teams in the West, potentially having a chance to go to a deep in the playoffs and the finals. This team is one of the lowest seeds in the play-ins. I think this is where they really winning here, getting into the overall playoffs is where they can turn this season from you know, a pretty big failure, in my opinion, for the Justice to something of more salvageable, right? When you have players as good as Decay and Mag and Fury, I know Assassin we've seen at times, like, you need to be better than the 6th seed. And a lot of the talk was about the supports coming into the season, but to be honest, I think they've been fine. Like, they haven't been losing this team games. I think, you know, Mag not being able to play some of that ball, and then some of the odd things that we've seen from Assassin as of late on the Sombra have really kind of hurt them.
Absolutely. And Decay, Matt, is a player who has the highest final blow-to-death ratio on Tracer in the league, but that actually is a bit misleading because it's more about the fact that he just dies less. He has pretty decent offensive stats, but he's more of a survivalist, and that's what skews that particular number in his favor. The Justice maybe benefit from a little bit more aggression or a little bit more lethality from at least one of their DPS players, but Assassin was also pretty strong when it came to picks like the Echo and such, so if he's not relegated to Sombra duty constantly, perhaps the Justice are able to lean a little bit more into their strengths. Yeah, again, the last time these two played, Matt, it was a knockdown, drag out, no holds barred brawl. I'm seeing like bar stools busted across each other's faces in that series. It was extremely close and very messy, but the Eternal are scrappy. That's how they like to play, but I'm sure they'd love a cleaner finish here to make it into the playoffs, or a chance at least.
And to remind you guys, this is a new patch, right? No hero pools. So we haven't seen these teams in, what, about like 2 weeks now, right? Or a week, so it feels like, you know, time just
it's like 2 weeks.
So fast
yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, where, who knows? Who knows what we're going to see? It's going to be the Justice coming out with a Reinhardt-based composition with the Mei and the Sombra, the Symmetra. This is something we've seen from teams in the past. And then, like you mentioned earlier, Naga being able to play the Echo again.
I'm keeping my eyes on Mag here, Matt. He is unbelievably aggressive on the Reinhardt. When the Justice played the Dallas Fuel on this map, he absolutely MTD'd Fearless, and it was this ridiculous bumper-esque aggression that we saw from him that paved the way. Decay's going to be on the Symmetra as they move to the point here, and remember, Wrecking Ball's changed significantly as well. We'll touch on that later. Immortality Field already gone down, so the Justice feeling pressured early, but only got struggling to get a decent foray. Naga's able to get the finish on Decay with a focusing beam, but it's traded out, and Vistola is desuited and removed. Oh my! Double connection there from Assassin on the Mei, but he has to Ice Block from the Bionade.
Yeah, and the Justice are pretty fortunate to get that kill on a Vistola. It's going to get rezzed up, as I was going to say, with the Justice composition, they got to get the Reinhardt in position to start swinging the Hammer being offensive threat, because you're going to have the Paris Eternal poke from so many different angles.
Good body grenade there from Khan to try and set things up, but Closer has a sound barrier just in time. The duplicated Diva from Naga here yields a free bomb and is going to resuit. It's going to draw a charge out of Mag, who again is going to get hit with a body grenade. There's an Immortality Field in play, but the Minefield's also going to be a bit of an issue. Mag needs to be topped up quickly, but Naga is decimating the rest of the Justice, and the Eternal are in position now to take the point at 42% and counting.
Yeah, and you had Mag try and go for a shatter at the end of that, and I don't even believe he got it off. I believe he ended up dropping right before that. But they're going to make a change, which I agree with this change that we're going to see from the Washington Justice. It's very difficult to get the Reinhardt into a position against this type of composition, even with a Lucio, to where you can charge somebody down. There's not like a static target here for the Paris Eternal. So you're going to go with a Winston-based composition that can close the gap.
Remember, Wrecking Ball gets the adaptive shielding for an extra 2 seconds now. It goes from 7 to 9. That's more durability once they're in the thick of things here, but Naga doesn't really have the defensive cooldowns to rely on, and Decay is able to pick him off. Assassin sets it up with a hack there, clips the wings of the Echo, but Naga's going to be brought back into the fight. Still a brawl on the point here, and Mag is currently sleeping off his last meal. Decay going to be holding onto the Pulse Bomb here, and he doesn't need to use it on Dan. Again, Naga's being pressured, but he's able to find Baby with the sticky bombs there. It's a Moira taken out of the mix. That's such a high-value kill. Fury down to Vistola here, and Naga should be able to clean this one up as well. The Eternal maintain control of the point, and now the Justice are going to sweat.
And that's really the Eternal supports coming up big there. We saw from Decay's POV, they're trying to put pressure on the Khan. Adritro uses the Valkyrie, able to heal Khan and to actually play from the point and contest. You're going to see Decay take out Onigod here, so maybe they make something out of it, but keeping Khan alive there was huge for the Eternal.
Winning the 1v1, crucial for Decay. Assassin still in position now with the EMP, but there's a duplicated Diva in the mix. Both Divas are going to have those mechs turned off for now. It was a Nano Boost deployed onto, it looks like Vistola there at some point. And here comes that minefield. Closer's going to be able to get the knockoff kill of Astola, but Bebe couldn't fade away from the minefield. It's 83% and counting now. Both teams relatively evenly matched in this fight as Closer goes for that sound barrier. Decay's looking for a juicy target for this pulse bomb, but he needs to guarantee a kill, and in the meantime, Khan is able to deal with Assassin. The bloodthirsty support from the Eternal really making it hard to pick him off in the backline. Only God also has a pulse bomb to spare, but now it's time to go. It doesn't stick. Mag's able to jump away from it there. Decay though connects with Khan, and that's the difference that Justice needed to make in this fight. Still some cleanup work to be done though as Decay must recall, but it's looking good, Matt, for the Justice.
In the end, it will be good for the Justice, but it did not look good for a while there. The con kill onto Assassin, he actually connects with a sleep dart onto Assassin, and then gets some help to finish him off. So really, the supports for the Paris Eternal come up big, getting them to 99% of the point. You're going to have a Nano here and Valkyrie, so you're still not out of this yet if you're the Washington Justice. You ended up having to use your support ults to get into the point there just to take it. With a Nano, a good Nano boost here onto, you know, potentially it's Pistola. You could even use it on Naga or Onigod. Could seal a deal for this first point for the Eternal.
Matchup looking as scrappy as the last so far. Here we go. Naga goes in with their nano boost there, but he's not able to find a kill. It's Khan that gets hacked in the backline, but Decay doesn't know what's coming for him. Naga turns back around and peels, removes the tracer from the equation, and Mag can't get away from the focusing beam. It was Khan, in fact, to finish the kill. Now the Eternal, blood's in the water, and they can taste it. They want to move to the point here, but Naga, after duplicating the Sombra, is hacked. He still might have an EMP here, though. Translocate to make it more effective. It's only going to catch Fury, but the D.Va doesn't have the mobility during the duration of this hack. Fury has to stand off the point and actually gets desuited. Vestala on the other side, though, is able to eat Decay's pulse bomb, and Assassin has to get out. Then EMP connects with the whole back line, and that's a huge setup for Decay to go in. Resurrect here could be big, and Naga's back in the fight. Still in overtime, Matt, and that closes sound barrier.
Yeah, and it's going to push the Eternal off of the point for just a little bit, and yeah, Vistola got knocked off. That'll be the Justice stealing away that first point, but you know, like you talked about in the pregame, this one's going to be a brawl, I feel like, all the way to the end. Both of these teams pretty evenly matched, where you saw at times the Justice being able to force certain things with compositions that, you know, maybe the Eternal didn't change to something to kind of counter it fast enough, where it looks like both teams going to go with something drastically different here. We'll see if the Eternals stay on the Tracer. No, it'll be the Sim Mei with the Reinhardt from both sides. So seeing the Reinhardt come back into the mix here early.
Yeah, it looks like many of our teams are gravitating towards the Reinhardt rush composition. Mag had to switch though, dealing with the Wrecking Ball in that previous round. Here, he'll get himself a Reinhardt mirror match against Darm, which is likely what he's looking for. Maywall goes up early here from Assassin. That's going to force Naga to ice block because he didn't really have any support there. Mag a little bit low now. TP thrown down by Onigod just to be able to get into the back line, and now he's charged up and ready to go. It might be a little bit too late though. Yeah, Naga and Dan already down as Mag wins the frontline fight.
Yeah, it's getting that ice block out early. He got it out of Naga. He had an ice block because he gets caught off by the wall. Doesn't have that. You still have Assassin with his, you know, wall again, and then the ice block. But really, just the push and the aggression from the Justice. It was Decay doing a ton of damage up front, charged up on the Symmetra. So how do we see the Paris Eternal go back and attack this? They didn't really have anything to work with. This will be an Amp Matrix shot from Bebe. It's actually pretty far up. It's like almost like halfway up between the players on the Eternal, so not a great Amp Matrix.
Shadow blocked there by Mag, but then his shadow goes awry as well. The sound barrier, great timing from Dredro there. And he gets 2 kills in that fight to environmental kills, man. Fury tried to get cute. He tried to wrap around behind the Eternal and eat up a lot of their damage. Dredro turns 180 and boops Fury off of the map on that left side room just there. Great awareness here from the Frenchman.
And I would love to know how much actual damage you were able to get from the Justice's Amp Matrix there, because it really looked like nothing as we see Dredro go back, escort Khan back to the point. The Amp Matrix on Bebe is placed in such an awkward position. There's no opportunity to get any damage on through it, which is such a huge, impactful ultimate. You see it come out here from Khan early.
Too close to the front line. Assassin goes down just before the Symmetra wall came up, and it's an icicle that claims him, but Dan falls. He's going to get hit by the Fire Strike, and Naga can't make the Blizzard work. He has no idea where it went, but Fury was sat there waiting for it. The Justice don't control the point quite yet, and there's still some cleanup to be done. Without Mag in the equation here, the previous heroics from the Justice may be for naught. Closer though, getting his hands dirty now, and Dredro's not going to be able to escape. Unless Okay, don't know how he slipped away there. Fury going to be laser carved out of his mech now, and Assassin wants to push up with this Blizzard, but no one's going to get caught inside of that. It's Decay coming back into the fight with 2 kills that secures it.
And they have to invest the Blizzard towards the end, and then Naga take out Fury, so Fury was not in a mech. They'll take him out, but now you have 4 players here. For the Paris Eternal, you're going to have a slight advantage in this next fight. You're going to have a 1-player advantage for a little bit of time.
Dam wants to push up here, sees the Maywall to the left-hand side, but doesn't want to commit too heavily. Maglo goes for the shatter anyway, he's going to catch Dart, and Cardi got 4 with that! Absolutely massive! And he doesn't overcommit. No charge there, just hammer swing, knowing Decay and Co. will help clean up. Fantastic Reinhardt play from Mag.
And this is what Mag has looked the best at during the season, right? It's really been his Reinhardt and his Winston where he's excelled. It's really been the struggles on the ball compositions where it's been a little bit of a letdown. You see just kind of using the shield to scout here, trying to get a Maywall off of this. But that'll be a TP and then a sound barrier from behind.
The Justice will be better off not fighting this, you almost have to think. Symmetra Wall's in place, so they're going to try and get cute around that one. Bebe goes for the Amplification Matrix, but doesn't seem in position to make much offensive use of that ability. And the wall comes second from the Eternal. Shatter came in from Darm, but it doesn't look like they're able to follow up on it to a great degree. It's just Decay to fall, and it's a trade of Symmetras in the end. Blizzard here from Assassin. That one doesn't tickle for the Eternal. The self-destruct is avoided for the most part, and Mag misses the charge, but Dana's got to be on the wrong side of that wall. Assassin, late into the fight, having a huge impact on this May Matthew. Faced a lot of criticism, but right now, it's an icy road. He's paving the way to victory for the Washington Justice, and they're going to take away Lijiang Tower.
Yeah, and you know, it happens a little bit towards the end, I believe, as Naga's coming back in. Fury eats the Blizzard for the 2nd time. But yeah, you got 2 Blizzards out of Assassin, and then you know, out of Naga, you had the Blizzards being eaten by Fury in these May compositions. Such an impactful ultimate as the Justice, they take this map number 1, but very close.
Absolutely. These Ryan compositions, you know, make for a bit of a brawl, and these 2 teams love to do just that. Good start for the Washington Justice, though. They look more comfortable in this hero pool. The question remains, can the Eternal find their niche as well? Stick around. Map number 2, of course, is coming up after this.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
And by popular demand, everybody, the Fan Download Center is back. You can share your favorite team's pride with wallpapers, profile pictures, banners, and more. Head to overwatchleague.com to access and download your fan pack. Matthew, what have we learned, at least about the current state of the meta, or at least sort of these teams' strengths from map 1? How much can we really glean from that as the Justice obviously go to a lead early?
I think we can take a little bit from it in the sense that we did see Winston, we saw some Reinhardt, we saw some compositions that we've seen from in the past. But I do think as time goes on, right, this will turn into a meta that's probably pretty map dependent, like we've seen throughout the entire year, where we really haven't had like one dominant meta. Like there's also been different things you can play on different maps and different styles, and Temple of Anubis will be next year, as this will be a Paris Eternal pick. I think we'll definitely learn a little bit more as the series goes on. I would venture to say that Wrecking Ball probably won't be as dominant as he was, with like the Lucio back in the mix, in really kind of Lucio just opens up so many different compositions, right? So I think we're in for a playoff that is going to have many different styles that you can play, and then force depending on map pick.
And I mean, I guess the Eternal and the Justice are in a maybe less enviable position where they have to be sort of the first to step out onto the stage and show what they've been working on. A lot of other teams are watching, and there's still a lot of time for us to settle into a metagame dictated by what this sort of patch looks like. For those wondering, there's a couple key changes, right? Some may be less impactful than others. We discussed the Roadhog change. Obviously, Genji gets extra damage on his shurikens, but he's less damage on the Dragon Blade now. And Doomfist gets his cooldowns back much quicker while he's using Meteor Strike. So a little bit easier to come out of that ability and still be able to perform your full combo and make people really upset. So, and that's just to name a couple of the changes here. It seems like having these heroes back from hero pool exclusion, though, has made more of an impact for these teams when deciding what to play. We might get some Assassin on the Echo here and Decay on the Reaper guy.
Yeah, so Echo Reaper, which is interesting. I mean, they are running the Winston on defense, so you can definitely punish pretty hard here. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we haven't seen Reaper in so long, right? But I mean, right there, that's exactly what I was talking about. They just punish Dawn. I mean, Visola nowhere close, and they just run him down.
He's just really not one for subtlety, is he? Decay just turns straight up, absolutely rolls on towards Dawn, teleports forward, I think, onto the platform. The Eternal, I mean, maybe should have expected the Justice would want to brawl after that first map, but the composition still looks like it took them by surprise. Naga got hit with like a full face of sticky bombs early in that fight and had to drop altitude.
The Reaper also makes sense in a world in which you're running Moira Lucio, right? If you were running a different support line, with Lucio plus something else, or maybe even you wanted to run, on a break, maybe the Reaper doesn't fit into that, but with the close quarter nature of the Moira and the Reaper, I mean, that makes total sense. Nice pulse bomb there by Onigod, picking up 2.
I mean, that's just perfect. You get both DPS for that one. I don't think either of them are ready. There might have even been a stick to the Echo. So tough for Assassin to find a way to protect his team from the blast if he doesn't have his flight cooldown available. Fury gets caught there. They'd love to... There's no defense matrix to prevent that from happening. That's a nasty extra stagger from Naga. Nicely done.
He gets slapped
from Khan. Yeah, it's Mr. Idge is back in business,
So you'll wait for Fury, come back in. This is probably a really good attempt for the Justice to be able to take Primal, Coalescence, Sound Barrier, in Duplicate. Lots of big ultimates. Look for Khan to potentially nano Dawn, try and build up towards a Primal. Just be a nuisance in the backline.
Smooth forehead, wrinkled brain for Khan. As the Germans causing a lot of problems for the Justice so far, but he's a sound barrier and they just launch forward. Again, the pace they can access with his Lucio Moro composition is hard for the Eternal to deal with. Khan goes down early in the fight, which means their healing is lacking, and Dredro was midway through rally. He's now gone as well. Naga can't make ends meet with a duplicated Reaper ultimate, and that might be done already. The Justice now set up on the point. 1 tick for them already. The Eternal try and respond here. What do they switch to? Maybe nothing at this stage here. Is he going to try and make it work with his compositions? It's another missed pulse bomb there from Onigod after getting 2 at his last one. Can't catch them all, I guess, but 86.7% already for the Justice, and they are far from done. Khan's in deep trouble. He's going to get pincered there in that back line, and Dawn is just a second too late with a Primal Mat.
Yeah, and the Eternal end up nanoing Dridro there on the Brig, and really nice adjustment by the Justice. They just run right past it, right to the corner, and you see what that's going to lead to here is players just jumping onto the point one by one for Paris, just trying to draw this out as long as possible.
Decay knows that they have to backtrack, they have to back up as he just plows towards his goal. He'll catch Only God there out of a blink with the Death Blossom, and that's 355 to count for the Justice. That is a nasty composition. Yeah. We're familiar with it, right? We saw a lot of it in the June Joust, but the Lucio Moira rears its head again, and it's still just as potent.
Well, it's so interesting that the Justice, they sound barrier, and they're coming straight down the middle towards the point. And the reaction by the Eternal is to use the Nano onto the Brig. I believe Jojo may have even had Rally at that point.
Yes.
But he's on the point, he's nanoed. And what do the Justice do as soon as they see that? They make a beeline for that right corner, and they end up jumping right on top of Khan. They get to kill onto him. And then because that push comes in, Vistol has to cross the point with Defense Matrix, trying to get all the way to that corner. And they get to kill onto him there. And the Nano Brig on the point doesn't really serve to do much, because they're never actually taking that engagement up close. It's a really nice call there from the Justice.
Yeah, there's rally healing, but there's no Inspire uptime to make up for the lack of Khan in that situation. So yeah, I mean, Dridro is more durable under Nano and a bit of a raid boss in that regard, but they're not. The Eternal aren't fighting in a way that allows them to benefit from that increased healing from Brig sort of swinging the flail. So not an ideal scenario for the Eternal. You see what the plan is, though, and it's a decent plan B in the absence of Khan, who's able to get the Nano off before he drops. But the Justice, again, they're very, very fast. The Eternal need to be quick on their toes to respond to this comp. And we're going to see Decay on the Cowboy here, Matthew, on defense.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Cowboy May. So this is a very, older bunker type of composition, especially with the Batiste in the mix. Well, this is one where they're asking Don to just dive up and see if he can live on through it. And he'll go to Wrecking Ball. So really interesting where the Justice are reverting to a little bit of older compositions that maybe were popular beginning of the season. And to counter those, the Eternal are going back to things that we saw in the previous tournament, where we see the Pharah, the Hangzhou, Decay just plucks the Pharah out of the sky. But very interesting strategy here by the Eternal to go towards more of these newfound compositions.
Look, one team that really got a lot of mileage out of the Cowboy, Matthew, is the Seoul Dynasty. They had Fitz on McCree as often as possible, and he really had a huge impact with some incredible stats that really suited their slow, their more bunker-based composition. So is here Decay's doing just that. I mean, perfect player to have on this role.
You can also play this because you do have Lucio back into the hero pool, because you get to a spot where you have to kind of usher the Reinhardt around. You can do that now. He gains that mobility, where in the previous tournament with hero pools, you didn't have the Lucio in the mix. You couldn't do that. You had to play something more mobile like a Winston, which then starts to negate stuff. You're not going to play Winston made, right? I mean, you're not going to play some of these odder comps. So really eliminated that from even happening. That is another. I mean, there's been nothing here from the Eternal. Yeah.
You have to have some kind of cojones to try and go against Decay on the Cowboy with anything airborne, right? Naga is that kind of player, which is fine, but Decay is punishing the Pharah pick in a big way. There might have to be a switch here.
And they also hunt down Onigod. They don't allow him, once they know where he is, they don't allow him to just throw translocators, get into the back line. And we can't see it on the screen here, but you see up on the bridge, and you're like, well, where's Fury? Fury is out in the back, just kind of poking at Don constantly. Don was in the spawn. Fury just tracking him the entire way.
Okay, Fury gets manually hacked here, so there's no one to really stop this barrage from coming in, and Naga finally gives an account of himself on this Pharah. Concussive blast away. Sees that self-destruct go in there from Fury, and now he wants to dive further into the back line. The Justice get out with the Lucio speed boost. And they're going to have a chance for a recontest here.
Yeah, you will. It looks like we're going to have Closer go back, get Mag back up into the fight, but they should have Fury be able to touch. They got off the point.
Yeah, they tried to push up here into Mag. Okay, so there's an assumption about the Eternal playing around that corner. They're just not. A lot of them get take to the sky. It's pretty hard to find good value with that Shatter against his composition anyway, so you got to be reasonable about it.
This Amp Matrix is huge, though.
Yep, Decay playing around it. We've seen the Justice go for this. Decay through the Amp Matrix on the Cowboy, and he cleans up Vistola. And there's nothing more to be done here for the Paris Eternal, and they're running out of time. It's less than a minute remaining for them to get point A.
Yeah, and you're gonna lose probably both supports here.
Trouble.
Oh,
Great body grenade.
He's able to stay out. I mean, that is incredible there.
Fury might have gone too far as well. Picks up the mini, tries to get away. Only got it on the Widowmaker now, and I think Decay's aware of this.
Yeah, and he's got the Deadeye. So playing to this side, they actually may want them to push up a little bit and try and get him an angle.
Oh my! Assassin just gets mulched there by only got at point blank range. He finds another headshot before dropping down. Baby loses that immortality field now, and the Eternal are looking much healthier. Self-destruct on the corner, doesn't affect anyone from the Justice, but they are looking haggard as all heck. Trying to move on to the point here, but only got is not missing right now. Closer gets taken down by Naga. And the Eternal come up with the goods here at the last few seconds. 3 minutes to play with.
Right, can you run this for this next checkpoint though? You're gonna have an Onigod switch, so this puts Washington in a position to win this map and you know, do it pretty. You don't want to say easily, but right, you know, they withstand this next push where you have Nano, Valkyrie, and Barrage. You're then going to start to get rolling on some of these ultimates like EMP and Nano for the Justice, and that may be enough to do it.
Barrage here from Naga. Nano boost as well, just to secure kills. Self-destruct there from Fury does very little, but Decay's able to find Dan. Team effort though, looks like there was a hack involved there. He'll be brought back into the fight though, and the Justice need to try and regroup as quickly as possible. Naga doesn't want to give them that opportunity, but a huge sleep dart. That's a massive connection there. Naga now has to sleep on the high ground. Assassin would love to get there, but he's got to deal with the Tracer first. Defensive body grenade there from Bebe after a ridiculous sleep, and that's going to stop the Eternal in their tracks, Matt.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 2 minutes on the clock, not a ton of time. And I wonder if you switch off of this Pharah here. I don't know if you can actually attack with this. Yeah, so they go over and they'll play the Echo. But, yeah, things are... I mean, the Justice, this is how we thought the Justice would play throughout the year, right? And maybe it's just at times they have not been able to play these compositions that they heavily favor. But Vistola switches off to get a new mech back. But, I mean, look at this, Mitch. You have an EMP here, but they'll probably play close, go for an EMP. Then you have the opportunity to Nano, Mag, with a Primal or without the Primal, just even get it. And with these changes for the Paris Eternal, you've reset some of the ultimates on some big key players.
Yeah, they got to go aggressive now, the Justice. Mag was getting a little bit low and didn't quite have his Primal Rage, so they had to use their Nano, but that's all really they use. The Justice get aggressive behind that, and they get a lot of value. The Eternal are in a sort of an ultimate percentage trough right now. So they don't have a lot really to leverage here with 1 minute remaining.
And what, 3 fights where in a row where Vistola has to switch off and reset ultimate charge on Diva? I mean, that is brutal. So you still have this EMP here. Is the Assassin just lurking?
Looking at Khan. Dridro never too far away. Maybe just a little bit of... Okay, straight for the EMP, and it's the back line that's hit hardest. Khan picked off instantly. Vistola's going to get hit with a hack, and Closer goes for the insurance policy of the sound barrier there. The Justice get another fight win, Matt. We're under 30 seconds. The Eternal looked a little listless.
Well, this is what I meant by that first fight was going to be Paris's best opportunity, because you were going to have this happen for the Justice, where they're going to be cycling these ultimates so effectively. We've seen so many teams do on Anubis, as Decay now has a pulse bomb, you have Primal Rage active, there's going to be Khan dropping right away.
I don't know about the opportunity for a back cap here, Matthew. Naga's able to pick off Closer. Yeah, but Fury was ready for it. He drops back. Naga's also going to be caught in the sights of Assassin, and he will be removed. And the Justice, a convincing beginning to this series now. They go up 2 maps to 0. And they really have a handle on more than one composition here on the Temple of Anubis. And that's the hallmark of a team that may make playoffs, Matt. They've got multiple looks right now, and they're serving them up hot.
And this is a team that I think a lot of people would be scared to play, because they can play like this. They have that type of talent where I think the Paris Eternal, you know, they played fine today. It's just the Justice are on another level these first 2 maps.
Well, the Paris Eternal now, this is a first to 3 series like many that they've been in before. Now they need to hang on. This was their map pick. It doesn't go at all well. They need a response here to what the Justice have, and they need it right about now. Map 3 is coming up.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Spirits definitely high as we head over towards our watch party here in DC at the Justice HQ. And it's a good time to turn up and support your team. Crucial games here for the Washington Justice. Everyone from here on out is a must win. And a good start, Matthew. 2 maps to 0 here in this series. The Paris Eternal look a little, wow, geez, a little unprepared for this extreme pace that the Justice are bringing. And Washington, like I said before, they've got multiple looks to serve up, and they're all looking pretty well oiled.
Yeah, those fans have been waiting probably a few weeks to clap.
Well, a bit more than that, but yeah. I mean, I don't know, unless they're yeah.
Hey, look, I can say that because I'm a Giants fan, so I know what it's like to never be able to cheer. So I get it. But yeah, I mean, this is a Justice team.
I mean, just ask a Philly fan.
That looks good.
Ask a Fusion fan, Matt. you know what it's like. Hey,
Suna comes in here for Onigod, so this tells you they probably want to play a little bit more like Tracer, kind of 24/7 potentially on this next, maybe even Cowboy. Yeah, so
I mean, these
we'll see, but
Yeah, these are all only god heroes as well. It just seems like when Suna gets subbed in, it's very specific, and he tends not to switch around too much. The Cowboy might be there, but yeah, we definitely think the Tracer's going to be in the mix here.
The Justice just seem to be rolling today, though, man. Like, and it makes you wonder, where has this team been at other points during the season, right? We've seen them at the beginning, right? I believe it was the May Melee. They got like a 4-0 start. Like, where is that team gone and the team we're seeing today gone? I feel like, with a little bit more consistency, this team would not be in this position, right, where they're a 6th seed having to play in the opening round of the play-in. They've just been very good here today, which obviously you celebrate, but you would have liked to see this for more of the season.
Sure, I mean, but this is how we test teams. This is how we put them through their paces throughout the course of the Overwatch League season. It's never just one metagame, right? You test every element of a team, from its players to its analysts to its coaches, its staff, and all of that, because, well, the metagame fluctuates drastically based on, what our hero pools look like. Teams had to adapt, they had to study, and most importantly, they have to prepare really well. Now the Justice can go back to a lot of the elements that really worked for them. This is a chance for teams to go back to, not just comfortable picks, but compositions that really benefit them at the individual and at the team level. So that's what we've seen so far from the Justice anyway. Mag hasn't had to mess around with the Wrecking Ball, and we've seen good tank play from him.
Though, with Anubis as a map pick, right? Some of these maps that we've seen picked so far, they fall right into the wheelhouse of what the Justice would want to do, right? Hey, we want to play fast with a Tracer Sombra, with a Winston, or we want to play, this kind of Reinhardt Brawly style of play. And maybe those are the two metas we just kind of shake out, and it's unavoidable, right? But so far, these maps have lend themselves really well towards the Justice style of play and what they would want to do.
At the same time, I'd say that the Eternal want to play Echo, they want to play Ana, and they probably want to play D.Va. So any compositions that feature those three is probably where they want to be. It just so happens that the Justice feel pretty well tech for these setups as well, but teams trade supports here. Bebe has gone down, so not a lot of sort of healing capacity left for the Justice on this attacking side, and it's hard to keep someone like Mag alive as a result. Still, a tick here would be nice to go home with, and that's what the Justice get. Little boop there by Closer to send the Eternal airborne, make it harder for them to contest the point here. Buys a bit of extra time for the Justice, but looks like it'll just be the one tick for them, Matthew.
Yeah, they won't be able to get away with anything else. Bebe is such a large source of the healing, as you're going to lose 2 players. Says Assassin's still behind enemy lines. Just going to constantly hack the health packs, try and get some damage down, farm up that EMP. Decay will move away from Tracer and go to the Reaper again. So I think this is because you're running the Lucio Moira. You can obviously play way closer together. Reaper still has decent mobility with Wraith form and then the teleporter. But this is just to try and just run down Don. Just get him scared. Big biotic grenade though there.
It's going to have to be a Wraith War. Keep it, Mag. Doesn't quite have that cooldown. Decay! Oh, man. This guy rides the lightning. He was looking for Naga, who very quickly gained altitude and extricated himself from that potentially dangerous situation. Primal Rage here for Dan. That's a scary one, and here it comes. Fade used instantly there from Bebe. Coalescence now to try and couch his team against the damage here from the Primal Rage, but a Biotic Grenade came in, and that's Decay down as a result. Mag has a Primal of his own here. Winston really where he feels the most comfortable, but what can he do now without the Reaper in the mix? There again, he gets at least 1 kill for every single Primal Rage that he uses, man. He's got an efficiency of 1.0, and he gets Khan, the most important target. A big EMP on the follow-up there from Assassin, and things are coming up Millhouse for the Justice, Matthew.
Yeah, and as soon as they get that first kill on a Khan, they invest the sound barrier, they push on through, Rally comes out, but then the EMP comes from Assassin, and they're able to withstand the rest of the push from the Paris Eternal. No opportunity. Once they're in the middle of that street, with the Winston and the Echo, no mobility. I mean, they're in a lot of trouble, as Naga now will go over to the Reaper himself, so both teams opting to go with the Reaper. I think you're in a better spot here with the Justice. I think the Reaper just synergizes better with the more aggressive style of play that they're trying to do, with the Lucio and the Moira. You're playing probably a little bit more of a defensive kind of counter style if you're Naga, right? With the Brig and the Ana, you're probably trying to protect them a little bit more. Basically kill Mag as he's going in deep with the supports.
Probably he tries to match Decay's positioning as well. Just tries to meet him on any flank routes and make it harder for Decay to just, access the backline easily. Nano boost here on towards Dan though. Decay thinks twice about challenging the Winston in his current state.
They can just disengage though because it's speed boost. Yeah.
Lucio backpedals. Suna, I mean, he knows he's under Assassin scrutiny right now, but there's going to be a Death Blossom here, and Vistola can't get away from it. The self-destruct claims Khan, and Bebe even invests the coalescence here. It's more than enough for the Justice.
The Lucio, you cannot, underestimate the power of the speed boost and just being able to disengage there. Dawn and I think a lot of other teams, right? The adjustment to having Lucio back in the mix in a previous stage, right? In the previous stage you just had. He gets that nano boost, he's in that kind of close position, he just jumps right over the top of the cart and he's in. There's nowhere the Justice can go, but with that speed boost, they just back out a little bit, and he does not want to go in that deep and commit against the Sombra Reaper. I mean, it's just so deadly.
Eyes on Dawn here with the Primal Rage. Oh, we might have a chance to use it here. EMP again catches 4, and Dawn is dispatched extremely quickly. Mag finds his way into a small room, and he's accosted Dredro here, realizing he probably can't get the kill, though, and that whip shot forces him back again, I think mid-flight. But the Justice get what they want. They get some space, they get a team fight win, they don't have to invest too heavily, and they have a sound barrier for the next fight.
Yeah, and Mag jumps up, pushes the supports back a little bit further. This is going to allow a few seconds for Closer to get back, and he's going to have that beat.
Suna got manually hacked. He's in deep trouble. He can't blink away. Naga now trying to do something in the middle of the fight, but he's walked straight into a defense matrix, and he gets picked up by Assassin, who gets 2 kills already on both DPS, no less. Decay stunned out of that Death Blossom there by the Brig. It's frustrating, but there's a coalescence in the fight to keep him vital. And Suna's going to struggle. He has to recall inside his own spawn, basically. Bebe just dishing out the skill orbs here. Obviously, Moira getting more health back per second makes a difference in fights like this, and the Justice finished with 250 on the clock. They have not slowed down for 1 second since this series started.
No, and the Reaper switch for the Paris Eternal did not work out. They never got Naga in a position where, one, he could either punish Mag for getting in onto the supports, or, get him in a position to really put a lot of pressure on Bebe or Closer. With the Lucio and then the Moira Fade, there's a lot that they can do to get out of those situations against the Reaper. And, I mean, what do you do here if you're the Paris Eternal on offense? Do you try and play, the same type of thing, right, and get aggressive? Because you already figure the Justice kind of have your number in that type of game, right? We've seen that. Do you try and play something a little bit slower, more Reinhardt-oriented? With the way they're kind of looking right now, maybe it's like a Reinhardt, like Cowboy May. They can still change, but man, I feel like the Paris Eternal are in such a difficult position right now.
That timing there was beautiful. Unclear whether sort of Assassin tracks Dawn's ultimate and just tries to catch him, or if Dawn just sort of fell into the EMP at the time, but that really takes the wind out of the Eternal sails. They had, that was their best chance with the ultimates that they had, and the Justice use a couple in that fight themselves here. Wouldn't shock me to see the Eternal come out with, something like this. Maybe they're afraid to go for an Echo because they know that it takes some time to ramp up with the Echo in these fights, and the Justice can speed in with that Reaper. They can hack the Echo manually. So they're going to go for a Sombra Reaper combo of their own with the Reinhardt for Dawn and the Baptiste for Khan.
Yeah, so they don't want to play the Moira. Obviously, no, on a break. This is trying to get Dawn in a position.
Oh! Suna's in trouble. His translocator's been removed by Assassin. He hacks him as well from behind. But the Justice have no way of picking him out of the massive Eternal plays by the looks of things here. This is looking much better here for Paris.
It's also so much damage onto Mag. With the Reinhardt hammers, the ability to be hacked, and then, goodbye. And then the Reaper. You have to consider potential switches here, I think, for the Justice.
I mean, that was a concession from the Washington Justice. Many of them getting knocked off there, but I don't really think they were intending to do too much more in that fight without Mag.
Oh, this is... So they go, instead of going with a Reaper here, they're actually going to bring in a Symmetra. So this will give them even more mobility with the teleporters. But I think the plan here... Okay, so they'll go May as well. Their plan here is to drag these fights out long. The longer these fights go, the better it's going to be for the Justice, right? Because Decay will eventually just kind of outscale everybody in terms of damage output.
So we see a bit of a longer neutral game with these compositions, right? The Ryan's trying to trade a little bit here. The Waldo is a big change. Naga goes in, gets rid of Bebe early up, but you can see just how charged Decay is. Forces Naga away, but Mag a little bit too far forward there. So as good as this comp is for the Justice, they don't have a lot to really deal with the Reaper. Naga just walks in there. After getting rid of Bebe, it's on for young and old. There's no one who really can stop him. No CC there.
It's a nice manual hack by soon to start things off, and then now you're in a spot where you can roll through this second checkpoint if you're the Eternal. For the Justice, you're just trying to maybe hope to force an ultimate out here or two. Obviously, best case would be win the fight, but not likely with everything on the table here.
Mag's able to step up and touch here. Keep the fight going. Ooh, Assassin's very low and close. Is going to get hit with that EMP. Yeah, nothing to be done here. The Justice will try and stall this out a little bit longer, but they are struggling so far in Numbani after a decent attacking round. The Eternal have a huge time bank here. They haven't even got that second checkpoint. 5:34 on the clock. That's nuts.
And I'm so happy the Eternal didn't come out and just match them again, right? And play the Winston and try and play Tracer. They're actually coming up with a composition that's really given the Justice some trouble now. But this will be the first fight since switching. The Justice actually have some ultimates to work with.
Dead Blossom from Naga catches closer again. He's struggled in the last couple of fights. Still hasn't built that sound barrier yet. Now, if the Eternal are giving the Justice a bit of a clouting here, they look quite good on the comp that the Justice has been going to this entire series. So maybe a switch here in philosophy from the Paris Eternal. It's really yielding them a lot of yardage. And they have an amp matrix here. They have the sound barrier for this next fight. The Justice have to pull out all the stops. And fortunately, they have them in ample supply.
We'll see, though. I mean, the Eternal have just been rolling. This will be an amp matrix. So it looks like Mag was trying to line up the Shatter.
Sound barrier here for both teams. Mag doesn't connect at all, and he gets shattered. Him and Fury knocked to the ground, and Mag is taken down. Despite the sound barrier being in the fight, the Eternal are able to come over the top of it there. Blizzard from Assassin slows things up, and Closer finds a cheeky little double. Can he stay alive, though? Naga pushing forward, and it's unclear how much of that defense matrix Fury has left. This lets Pistola sort of range a bit further away from the fight and chase Bebe down. Mag walks face first into an EMP here, but has the durability just in his base health to stay alive. Assassin on the Tracer is not a common sight here, but it's enough to get the Justice out of jail.
And I think they actually intended for Mag to be the solo recipient of that EMP, because you had Fury there, and he opts to just let the cart get, very close to getting over the line and completing the map. But he doesn't want to get hit with the EMP. It loses the defense matrix, which kind of protects everybody at that moment. So if he sidesteps the EMP, gets in a position it's not going to hit him, they just sacrifice Mag, but he lives anyway.
Self-destruct comes out there. Symmetra wall going to make it hard to connect on that, and Naga's probably made it pretty clear where he was going with that teleport. The Symmetra barrier makes it really hard for the Death Blossom to get any value for him, and he brings an ultimate into the fight. Ultimately, it gets nothing, and this is where the Justice have an opportunity to even the ledger in time bank now. The Eternal are going to get staggered here. Pistola obviously no stranger to this phenomenon. With the Rhine shield in the way, it's particularly hard. He's going to try and get himself up to greener pastures as quickly as possible. But the Justice have a lot of ultimates still to spend. It was just the sim wall in that last fight, Matt.
And the thing that's annoying about this composition for the Eternal is the Justice have so many things to stall. Whether it's Lucio, the Immortality Field, Diva, Self-Destruct, New Mech, Ice Block, Sim Wall, right? There's just a lot in the way of them getting the cart over the line. And like we mentioned, these longer fights with the Symmetra in the mix definitely favors her in terms of damage output.
If Bebe can get an Immortality Field in that front line and allow Decay to go to work, the Symmetra is devastating. Mag has another shatter here. Last one, not so flash, this one. All remains to be seen. Assassin gets picked up by Naga here. So the Justice hope to play a slow and neutral game. They still have a Symmetra charging up. Mag eventually has to make the play. He has to make the move here. Trying to force down and drop the shield if he can. Maybe force the enemy right out of position. There's the Immortality Field. And the Eternal looked like they felt comfortable enough there to stand away from the shield. But they have an EMP to break back in. And with Decay and Mag falling, this might be it. Fury walks onto the Khan and gets rid of Khan with a remake kill. Buys a little bit of time. Crucial time being boarded. Look how healthy he still is. They can't kill him. Across the map, Bebe keeps that Diva alive for quite a while.
I tell you what, though, a flanking remake kill, especially on a Khan, is massive there. You lose the Immortality Field, yeah.
No Baptiste, a big Symmetra wall here makes it hard for the Eternal to actually get damage. It's a net damage reduction here for the Eternal, so much so that they can't afford to fight. They're forced back. Now, Khan is back in the mix here. Self-destruct catches Decay, and I mean, the Justice can't afford to let those kills happen this way. They do freeze Dan, but the Immortality Field may have kept him alive. It wasn't quite placed correctly, though, and this could be devastating for the Eternal, Matthew. It's not over yet, but Naga comes in with a heroic Death Blossom, and the D-suit there on Fury should pave the way. Assassin can't stall for as long as he would have liked, and it's 1:10 that Eternal finish with.
Still a very good hold at the end there from the Justice, considering how good Paris was through the first 2 points. I think finally, you know, after some compositional changes, the Justice started to get some ultimates, really kind of even things up. But Paris looked great when they were playing that Reinhardt-based composition versus some of the stuff we've seen from them on Winston. So I'd love to see them go back to it on offense. They have to, though, be expecting that the Justice will not come out and kind of play maybe that same thing again on defense. Although, I think you can kind of make the argument, I think that's pretty valid, that if you come out with this Reinhardt on defense, it makes it easier for them to run some type of dive, right? Where you might be able to kind of counter-comp them in that regard. So we'll see what happens, but it looks like the Justice going to bank on the Eternal coming out with some Reinhardt-based composition, and they'll counter that with the May plus the Cowboy. So May, Cowboy plus the Reinhardt.
Finishing with as much time as they have for the Justice is huge. I think, look, giving up that first point, it was great play from the Eternal, but definitely miscalculation from Washington and maybe what they should expect to see compositionally. They've had a chance to revise that, and that's why their setup looks so different now with the Cowboy, with the Reinhardt here, and no Moira. So they do have, you know, throughput to match that of the Paris Eternal, who walk out here with Symmetra. So the mobility from the teleport could be crucial here.
60 seconds.
Let's see, they're going to try and go main here. But this is also going to give Decay some really nice sight lines. And yeah, I mean, he's going to be able to take out 2 from a distance.
Oh, that's so nasty. Fastest gun in the West. Dridro's able just to skirt away. Vestila hot on his heels. And that's pretty nasty for the Paris Eternal. This is where they're supposed to really start their comeback, but despite having a better time bank after point B than the Justice, they slowly get ground down. And now the risk of just, well, disappearing altogether, Matthew.
And what do? You can't just face plant the TP into the entire team and just kind of run down Decay. And you have nobody that can provide damage at long range to be able to do so. And they put a teleporter into the backline, but gets destroyed straight away.
The wall doesn't do anything there either. It doesn't let them catch anyone. And now the Ant Matrix, the Eternal might have to drop off the high ground now and give it over to the Justice. That could be their undoing here. High ground advantage for Washington. Mag sees a wall come up, but didn't have a shatter anyway. It's away with Fire Strike that catches Naga. The shatter there not nearly as fancy, but Mag doesn't do it that way. He does it the old-fashioned way. Swing and hammer. Dridro now, under the scrutiny of Decay, will crumble, and so do the Eternal on this attack. That's a full hold here in extra innings for the Justice, and their way forward is clear.
And it puts the Eternal in the same type of dilemma that I was just talking about for the Justice. The Justice come out with a Reinhardt-based composition, although not with the Sim May. They have the Cowboy in the mix, which Decay is able to control the high ground, put down tons of unanswered damage at range. It puts Vistola in a difficult position. You know, he can't just kind of fly to the high ground, abandon Dawn, because he's just going to get swung on. So what do? They really didn't have an answer for that. If you're the Eternal, what do you do on defense? Do you try and come out with the Winston and the Tracer, right? Do you come out with a Reinhardt-based look? I think if you're the Justice will probably have more of an appetite to play something that's a little bit more fast-paced, whether it's the Moira Lucio with the Reinhardt and the Reaper, or you know, Winston with that type of variation of support. And you can see Decay, I mean, not taking any damage, right? I mean, this entire thing at full HP.
There's a few things that contribute to that, though. I think that the Eternal not catching anyone with the May wall and then having to face an Ant Matrix down, you automatically have to drop off the high ground. Yeah, you render that Matrix useless, but that means that Decay gets to play for the high ground map, and he drops whenever he pleases. And he does. He gets 2 kills on the way down. He has that high ground advantage. The Eternal had no choice but to put themselves in like a weaker position. 1 tick, 2 minutes 47 on the clock. The Eternal are going to have to hold out for a long winter here as the Justice look to close this series.
The Justice fans probably got worried once they saw this Wrecking Ball composition come out, but they're going to play. They're going to go and play the Reinhardt. So both teams actually ended up in a mirror matchup here.
TP? To the opposite high ground. Okay, that's fruity, man.
And that negates that. You're not going to take the TP if you're the Eternal, and that ruins anything they could have got with the Sim.
Oh, Mr. Chick-fil-A, I don't feel so good. Khan, the Immortality Field's been taken down. Vesela is desuited, and the Justice stand tall. It's been a proud season for the Paris Eternal. A very ambitious project here. Players that previously weren't featured in the Overwatch League and playing entirely from Europe, but now, at this point, their rooster is cooked. It's going to be the Justice advancing to take on the Shock.
And this is a Justice that I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Shock is going to have a choice, right?
I don't get to pick, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think they'll be too thrilled to pick a team that looks like this, to be honest.
Maybe not. Maybe the Shock choose the other match.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in the other match. I think they'll probably choose from that. But this is a Justice team today that, look, they can go back to playing some of the compositions that they looked really good at. They're still really good at them. And they're just a little bit inconsistent on the day-to-day. I think for the Paris Eternal, they had a tremendous year. I thought everybody from the players to the staff really, over-exceeded expectations that, a lot of the community had. So I even think, a loss here for Paris, you still feel really great. I know a lot of younger players on this roster, players that you can use to build towards the future. They got a really good structure, with a Vala and Get Amaze. So I think really good season here from the Paris Eternal, all things considered.
Yep. Put simply, this team is expected to be bottom 2 in the West. I think when we tallied it up in terms, they actually end up mid-table here with a really impressive record, and they gave us some great moments. Incredible roster of players. The addition of Astola, really gave this team a boost, and their prospects going forward are really good. Player of the match, though, today, of course, hails from the Washington Justice, and probably no surprise here, it is going to be Decay. It's Decay or bust for this team at times, and Assassin had a much better series on the Sombra. I think buying the dip is a good idea, as Johnny sort of put it, but again, the McCree switch later on was great. We talked about Decay being a survivalist on that Tracer. This time he really bared his fangs and made his way into the back line. Big difference maker from the Reaper guy as well.
And he almost ruined the playoffs last year. He looks to be kind of on that same trajectory this year. He is the type of player that can take over a game. We saw it last year. We've even seen it in years previous, although it hasn't resulted in wins at the highest level. If you put him on a team where there's talent around and you play around him and empower him to kind of go off, he will go off.
I think it's
rarely
important.
See him have bad games.
It's important to point out that Overwatch is a game that I think is centered around team play more than many, right? There are a lot of shooters that,
absolutely.
Really allow individuals to just habitually pop off and be the center of the show. But in Overwatch, you really need to be a transcendental talent to have that kind of performance consistently. When we're giving this guy player of the match over and over again in a game like Overwatch, where it's less about that individual, more about the team.
Yeah.
He receives a lot of resources, to be fair, and this puts Assassin in a position where he has to be that lower economy player. But he converts on that, right? It's a very efficient way of taking his team's effort and turning it into results here. Great series from Fury as well, I want to point that out. Had some huge ultimate hits there as well. Tried to get a little bit cute at times on Lijiang Tower, but it was definitely clear that Justice feel much more comfortable. Mag, very aggressive on the Reinhardt. His Winston Reinhardt stats are actually really good. So, recency bias might make people think that this team is sort of not one to be respected, but they're in a position now where they get to show their strengths. They've got a lot of them on the roster. That's why, Matt, we had them so high on our bloody power rankings at the start of the season, because we could identify that potential. It wasn't even unrealized potential. It was clear the quality of the players on this team.
Yeah, not a normal 6 seed, right? No, they go through a really rough patch. They look like they couldn't contend with even teams of the like of the Eternal. But when things click for this team, I really think it starts to center around Mag being able to play the Winston, play the Reinhardt in those type of rush brawl lead style compositions, which open things up for this team. They look very scary.
And no one wants to pick this team to go up against in the next round, but one of them is going to have to. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back, but after that, we're going to catch up with Decay, of course, with some winning words from the Washington Justice as they advance here in our play-ins. Stick around, more from that later.
나이스. 메인 오신. 이렇게 이거? 나 존나 때리는 중. 메인 오신 아 이거 캐리
진짜 인정. 와 지렸다 저거나.
왜 내려와 있는데
3대 0.
메이가 아니 깔끔했다.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
This entire series is a statement.
Would you say this is contenders?
Overwatch contenders.
There he goes for the environmental. There was nowhere else for him to go. Can I see that Deadeye come out for Cloud? Oh, Reckless! Barrage coming in for this one. He's just spraying through the point.
On time with that interception. Here comes the bomb. Will they be able to split away from it? No, they won't.
Mitzi gets stunned out of breath flux!
Alexander the Great.
I'm ready for this blade to come out. Good old classic Overwatch. It's the Nano Blade 3K. Your kids is on the Widow, forcing these supports off plat. What supports, I say? Where did this shatter come from for Lulsish?
American Tornado once again, grand final winners.
Welcome to Game Break, everybody. We're joined now by Decay from Washington Justice. Decay, congratulations on the win. 자, Decay 선수 인터뷰에 참여해주신 거 감사드리면서 오늘 승리 너무나 축하드립니다.
네, 감사합니다.
Alright, let's jump right into the questions. So, it's been nearly a month since we last saw Justice play. I think your last match was August 8th, if I remember correctly. How did you guys prepare for the play-ins in the month amount of time? 첫 번째 질문은 워싱턴 팀을 저희가 마지막으로 본 게 8월 8일인 걸로 제가 기억을 하거든요. 거의 한 달 정도가 됐는데 이 한 달 동안 이 플레이인을 위해서, 시즌 플레이인을 위해서 좀 어떻게 준비를 하셨나요?
저희가 저번 스테이지까지는 이제 좀 메타에 따라 맞는 픽을 준비하다 보니까 이제 좀 어려운 게 좀 많았는데, 이번에 플레이는 저희가 잘하는 거 하자, 잘하는 거 연습해서 이제 그냥 보여주는 걸로 연습을 해가지고 좀 그렇게 연습했던 것 같아요.
Right. So last tournament, you know, we really had to practice and use and follow the meta because there was a hero pool involved, so we had to practice around those hero pools that were involved in the last tournament. So it was pretty difficult and it wasn't really easy for the Washington Justice and our team. But coming into the play-ins, because there's no hero pools, we really wanted to play to our strength. We wanted to really use compositions that we were comfortable, that we were really good at. So I think it really worked in our favor. All right, and I think that really showed in your match against Paris Eternal, because you guys looked really dominant in your match that you guys just won. And I personally think the Washington Justice looked far better today compared to your matches in the regular season. So my second question to you, Decay, is what is it about Washington Justice and the playoffs? And of course, I'm also referencing last season's playoffs as well, where you guys had a crazy run as well. So what is it about the playoffs and the Washington Justice? How are you guys able to just pop off in the season playoffs? 자, 두 번째 질문은 이제 방금 말했다시피 좀 이제 이번 저희 시즌 플레이인으로 들어오게 되면서 이제 영웅 밴 이런 게 없기 때문에 좀 더 편안하게 준비를 할 수 있었다고 말씀을 하셨는데, 그게 좀 오늘 보였던 것 같아요. 오늘 파리와의 경기를 많이 봤어도 좀 굉장히 좋은 승리를 거두시게 되셨는데, 어떻게 보면은 작년 시즌, 저번 시즌 프로업에서도 그랬고 디키 선수가 저번 프로업에서도 좀 굉장한 활약을 했었기 때문에 어떻게 보면 좀 저스티스 팀이 프로업이나 좀 플레이인에 들어오게 되면 항상 좀 더 뭐라고 해야 되죠? 좀 이렇게 진화가 아니라 좀 더 이렇게 파워업을 해야 된다고 해야 되나? 좀 이런 게 있는 것 같아요. 좀 그거가 있다고 생각을 하시나요?
일단 이걸 지면 이제 끝나니까 시즌이 이거 지면은 이제 경기를 더 이상 못 하니까 좀 더 진짜 영혼을 다 담아서 하는 것도 있고, 마지막만 되면 이제 좀 저희가 잘하는 픽들이 좀 메타가 된다? 그러는 게 좀 운이 좋은 거가 많은 것 같아요. 그래가지고 좀 잘하지 않나 싶습니다.
Right. So I think coming into the play-ins, we all know that if we lose this match, if we lose in the play-ins or in the playoffs, then everything's over. If we lose, there are going to be no more matches for us. So we really put in our soul into every single matches that we play. And also, I believe that we sort of get lucky in that whatever our comfort picks are, or whatever that we are really good at in whatever heroes that we utilize, that sort of becomes the meta. So in that sense, we sort of get lucky in that sense. I want to just quickly follow up on that. You did talk about the meta and how whatever Washington Justice picks is becoming the meta, and how you guys feel lucky about that. What do you think the meta is going to be for the play-ins and the playoffs? 자, 방금 DK 선수가 말씀하셨다시피 어떻게 보면 좀 이렇게 운 좋게 이제 사용을 하는 영웅들이 어떻게 보면 좀 더 메타가 된다고 말씀을 하셨는데, 지금 현 상황에 보셨을 때 DK 선수가 보실 때는 좀 뭐가 메타인가요, 그러면?
솔직히 이번에는 거의 다 조합을 좀 많이 쓰는 것 같아서 딱히 메타랄 게 없는 것 같아요. 그냥 거의 모든 팀들이 다 자기가 잘하는 것 하고 그러는 것 같아서 지금은 딱히 메타가 정해진 건 없는 것 같아요.
Okay. Talking about meta, you know, I don't think there is a set meta that is really set for the playoffs, because I feel like teams are utilizing what they're really good at, playing to their strengths. So as of right now, there's not a set meta. I think all the teams are just playing whatever they feel comfortable and whatever they are good at. All right, let's move on to the final question. You guys are one step closer to make it into the playoffs. Decay, if you could pick your next opponent, who do you want to pick? The Houston Outlaws or the San Francisco Shock, and why? 자, 마지막 질문은 이제 다음 경기 분명 이제 워싱턴 팀이 상대를 결정을 하지 않지만은 그래도 DK 선수가 고를 수 있다면 휴스턴 팀을 고르시겠습니까? 아니면은 센쇼기랑 경기를 하고 싶으십니까?
저는 어차피 둘 다 만나야 되는 상대라고 생각하고 플레이오프에 가면 그래서 딱히 누굴 고르거나 그럴 생각은 없는데 그래서 굳이 고른다면 휴스턴이지 않나. 쇼크는 저희가 저번 시즌에 좀 플레이오프 마지막 경기에서 좀 떨어졌는데 그 복수를 좀 플레이오프에서 하고 싶어서 휴스턴을 먼저 패고 올라가서 네.
네, 알겠습니다. Alright, so I mean, because at the end of the day, in the playoffs, if we go into the playoffs, we're going to have to face both of them. But if I have to choose, I would choose the Houston Outlaws because I want to get my revenge for last season's defeat against the San Francisco Shock later on in the playoffs. So I want to defeat Houston Outlaws first and then play against the San Francisco Shock in the playoffs. Alright, okay, that is it for the interview. Thank you so much for your time and good luck tomorrow. 자, 이걸로 인터뷰 마치겠고요. DK 선수 감사합니다. DK? Alright, I think he... Alright, bye DK. Alright, guys, let's head back.
He just dropped the mic. You know, he had nothing else to say. Absolutely love it. Yeah, DK out. That was the most passive-aggressive mic drop I've seen in a long time. So good on you, DK. I mean, there you heard it. He already mapped out his road through the playoffs. So they must be feeling confident. The first play-in match was a great one. Justice advance and await their opponent. So don't forget that we will have Super from the San Francisco Shock live on the Watchpoint post show as he will pick Shock's opponent for tomorrow. So definitely stick around for that. And now, this was the 2021 season for the Paris Eternal. And Justice, well, they live to fight another day tomorrow. Now, post-season decay has been activated. And I mean, looking at the predictions, that was my bad. I kind of failed to look at the character sheet from Washington Justice, and I didn't notice that they put all their points in playoffs and literally nowhere else. Sometimes it be like that. It worked out for them. They seemed so much more confident on the comps we've seen today, Reinforce.
Yeah, no hero pools in the mix this time around for the play-ins, so the Washington Justice, they were able to adapt freely to the compositions. They wanted to play whatever the stage. They came out playing the Tracer and the Sombra here on Lijiang Tower. Of course, they started out playing the Reinhardt composition, which they played later on Control Center as well here. Reinhardt really seemed to be a confidence pick for the Washington Justice here. We saw them bring that out on Umbani as well. So this is what we've seen from the Washington Justice previously in the season as well. Remember when they played Dallas Fuel closely in that knockout match? Mag, he was having one hell of a game against Fear as well. Then you can play these Winston compositions that we saw them play against the June Joust. That's when they played the San Francisco Shock really closely. That's what they really succeeded on in the main melee. So Washington Justice in the play-ins for me, the story for them really is them being able to flex onto all kinds of different compositions they practiced throughout the regular season, and now they're really bringing it all together into one nice blend. They're swapping between multiple compositions, people are comfortable, confident, and Assassin, I mean, his hacks today, they were actually great. No mems today from him. Instead, he had 5-man EMPs, 4-man EMPs that turned these fights around and really contributed to the win for this team. So the Washington Justice, I think they look really scary and really impressive now in the play-ins. Going up against either the Houston Outlaws or the San Francisco Shock tomorrow, I think either of those teams will have a really rough go of it at the Washington Justice team that looks as good as this. So Washington Justice, you also can't underestimate Closer playing this Lucio, because one of the major issues for Washington Justice in the Countdown Cup was that they didn't have a Brig player that could really compete with the others. They couldn't keep Baby alive because they didn't have a Brig player. That's why we saw Tuba on the Brigitte. Well, now Lucio's back in the mix. Closer can play his comfort hero, and that's really helped the Washington Justice come alive right when they needed it. So, yeah, great showing from the Washington Justice. And, so before I end it, this rant, Assassin, he's trending upwards. I called in the pre-show, the bottom is in. Yes. I mean, you can see for yourselves. This was before the game, of course, you know, a bit of a slump, it bottomed out. Here's where it's at now. Look at it. It's beautiful. It's rising. You know, it started off with a bit bump of a Lijiang Tower. Anubis was man, but then Nambani, woof, it just rose. It just, wow, that's going to the moon, baby. So, I mean, tomorrow, even higher tomorrow. Assassin really putting on a show that series. So, great job by you, Assassin. Yeah, that wraps it up, Zoe.
Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, we spare no costs and efforts in making new graphics for every talking point that we want to make. I know, right? That was definitely not just flipped. Now, coming up next, it's our last match of the day. Two underdogs hoping to make some noise and get into the playoffs. Boston and Toronto. Now, after we've seen the first two teams face off against each other and maybe getting a feel for the compositions we might be seeing, any better idea now, Costa, what we can expect from the next two teams?
Well, it's actually got me a little concerned because, as we saw in the pre-show, all of us chose the Toronto Defiant on this desk, and I think that's because of their recent performances of looking quite good, playing that wrecking ball sort of dive composition. But the match we just watched, it didn't seem like that was prominent at all, and teams were sort of favoring playing this brawl Lucio style. So my question becomes, is that going to be a thing for all the teams in the West, or is that just going to be those two teams? And it's going to be interesting. And because the reason it's interesting is... No, I'm not flip. No, I'm not going to flip. Okay. Maybe I'll flip. Okay, well, give me a minute. Okay, let me talk it through, rationalize it in my head. Because the point is, I actually think Boston Uprising is better in the Lucio Brawl compositions. They heavily struggled with this wrecking ball dive style where Toronto Defiant really thrives. So is Toronto going to keep trying to force this wrecking ball composition that we know works against this Winston dive style that we just saw in the most recent match? Because that's how the Shanghai Dragons got the lead over the West in the June Joust and the Summer Showdown. So I'm excited to see how that's going to play out for not just these two teams, but in the playoffs as we go further, because everyone should be playing to their comfort. What is everyone going to play? So I think I will flip. I'll give it a flip. I don't think we need the graphic, but I'm actually going to go for the Boston Uprising. After seeing that, if they can play that style, if they can play to their strengths in that kind of way, I think that the Toronto Defiant might struggle to have an answer to it.
Valentine Genji.
Channel it.
That's not what I wanted. Once again, I want a Genji contingency in my pick of if Boston plays Genji, I'm flipping back to Toronto.
No,
that's
you already
fair.
flipped.
That's
no,
fair.
you can't.
Also, if you're wondering why we're not as passionate about predictions, I mean, the regular season is over. Our scores are already set. So honestly, we can throw anything on the wall now. Now's our chance to go for those risky picks we otherwise wouldn't have dared to do, right? So okay, Costa goes with the flip. Nah, man, I'm good. I already have my share today, so I'm fine. I've done my one, the obligatory risky pick. Now this is another match with everything on the line, and who better to cover all the action than two guys who have a track record of handling pressure on and off the server with mixed results, Bren and Sideshow.
Wait, appreciate that. Yeah, just throwing us under the bus again, Bren.
To you, no, just Bren actually. Remember Talent Takedown where you just rage quit after you threw on Volskaya? Because I remember.
I didn't throw. Okay. If we're gonna go now, I actually do have a bone to pick with all of you on this one. If we're going to the Cast of the Masters direction with this one, listen. What are we doing? What are we doing with this with Cast of the Masters? Are we actually trying to get better, or are we throwing for content? Because I'm getting mixed messages from the crew. Because I'm trying every game. I'm trying my heart out. And I'm getting mixed messages from the crew. Are we playing for content or are we trying to get better?
Brent, Zoe and I have to do good because otherwise we're going to go down to silver.
I was about to say, we're
on
a brink to fall into silver because of this. So, we're trying our hearts out. Unfortunately, we're not great at the game, so we rely on people who are on paper, in theory, better, such as you and Sideshow, which is a weird thing to say. So I don't know why you walk into the opponents before we even, Anyway, it's not about us. It's about two teams playing, and that's
it's not about us.
No, it's not about us. There's way more important things, such as the next matchup. How are you guys feeling about this? After we've seen two teams play already, do you have a grasp on the meta? What are we gonna see?
I don't think anyone's got a grasp on the meta. Yeah. I think it's pure hubris from Scott trying to flail his prediction around, trying to make a read on what's going on. You just watch Paris and Justice play. Who knows what the meta's going to be?
I've solved it. I've cracked the code after that one match, which was a 3-0. I've solved it all. Don't worry, Josh. You'll catch on eventually.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
I think there's a lot of unknown variables, a lot of unknown quantities that we've yet to see with these teams yet. But we're going to say goodbye to the desk as well. We're going to get this game underway. And it is everything on the line for both of these teams because this is the entire season that it's culminated to this singular moment. I think it's easy to forget that with all, the fun and the jokes that we're having alongside this. This is the play-ins. This is the entire culmination of the 2021 season. season for both these teams. If you lose, you're gone. That's it. And for some of these players as well, might be their last game playing in the Overwatch League as well. You've got to think about that moving forwards into next season. Obviously, the announcement that we're going to be playing on Overwatch 2, like the sort of like early build, I suppose, of it. Moving to 5v5, some of these opportunities are not going to be present as well. It's a lot. It's going to mean a lot for both of these teams, I think, coming into this.
Yeah, absolutely. And both of these rosters, both of these franchises are having some of their best performances they've had in recent times. The Boston Uprising was the weakest team of 2020. And so to turn that around and be a mid-table team with playoff chances here, what a turnaround. I mean, GM Huck bought the dip and has come into this season with a team, honestly though, Brent, it's a team that it's not even at full strength compared to what he was trying to accomplish in the preseason. They didn't have Soon, for example, a legend of the Overwatch scene who wasn't able to compete with us this year. And so they've been working with a DPS lineup that hasn't been able to fill all of the different roles. But I'm37 has been crucial in filling some of that gap and having a much better performance than he did in the past. And who did he play for in the past? The Toronto Defiant. I'm loving this kind of idea of these two franchises clashing together, because when you look at the history of both of these franchises, it has been up and down for Boston, but a lot of down. And then for Toronto, it has just been a slow grind up to something they can be proud of. And that's what they're aiming for this year, both teams.
Yes, and opportunities abound, I think, as well. When the meta's still so up in the air, which team is going to get the better grasp of it early? Let's take a look at the Toronto Defiant starters. And there's plenty of individuals on this team who we can point at as definitely going to be impactful players, I think, moving forwards as well into this series. Hisu and Aspire have had magical moments. The thing that sticks out for me as well is Michelle, in terms of how well Michelle has been playing in recent times as well, especially against players like Decay. I think back to his match against Washington and how well he was just shutting down Decay as an individual. There's talent on this roster, and we've seen, honestly, the peaks of Toronto Defiant looking quite good.
They certainly have, and like I said, this has been the best year for them as well. These players have had success before. Sado going to the grand finals in 2018, Hisu and Sado together with KDG, the coach of Defiant, having an incredible year in 2020 playing for the Philadelphia Fusion. They were the #1 seeded team coming out of the regular season in the West. But this franchise is having the best year they've ever had. They're at a 56% win rate over the season. I mean, they were at 29% in 2019, and then 36% in 2020. So this is a gigantic step upwards. And if they're able to continue this season, both squads, if they can continue and make a deep run through the play-ins, maybe get to the playoffs, maybe cause an upset later on down the road, it'll easily be their highest accomplishment in a regular season.
Certainly will. And Busan is going to be the stage where we're set map #1 between both of these teams. I believe that's Toronto Defiant's map pick as well, as they're the higher seed in this opening matches and the play-ins. And yeah, just to clear up confusion as well. I saw some people didn't really get it, but the next round of matches with the Shock and the Houston Outlaws, they actually get to pick their opponents out of the winners of the match earlier today and this match here as well. A lot on the line.
Listen, that Justice team was looking improved compared to their recent regular season performances. So
that's the annoying thing about Justice. They come alive in the playoffs.
Well, that's why I'm wondering whether either of these teams will do it as well. The Toronto Defiant have probably slightly higher player quality. Like on paper, their roster seems like it would be able to do more than Boston. But Boston have had explosive performances, big upset results this season, off the back of Valentine and Myeonbong, for example. So if anyone turns up for the playoffs, it can create a very different feel for the ceiling of a team.
Defiant looking to, I think, keep a bit of that momentum that they were carrying forwards at the end of the Countdown Cup play-ins. They certainly were looking good. I think it was against the Atlanta Reign. Ended up losing that match, but here we go against the Boston Uprising.
Fire. And here we see both teams playing radically different compositions to what we saw in our previous match. Both going for the ball Zen. I mean, obviously this is favored on Busan anyway, and a lot of this meta, I think, is going to end up being map dependent. Tracer Sombra for both teams here, but it's not that same Lucio fast-paced brawl, rush, dive kind of comp.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot of different looks of the meta as well early on in the playoffs themselves. You can see the Spies in the back just trying to put in a bit of harassment there, the damage off onto the side. Myeonbong trying to stay safe, firing off the volleys from the long-range angles here. It's going to be the early control of the point going to the Toronto Defiant, so in control of this now. They have, honestly, better positioning as well. Looking to try and sync something up with Aspire, potentially as well.
Aspire's Tracer.
Sado coming in.
Aspire's Tracer has been lovely this season. Third in hero damage as well. Brand new rookie coming into the league. He was on a temporary contract. There he is. Just syncing up so well with Hisu and the Discord orbs.
Yeah. Pretty orchestrated. The Boston Uprising looking to answer back. They did manage to jump onto the backline, so it's going to be them taking out the support. Aspire now trying to win out this 1v1, just dodging, juking, trying to stay alive here. With the Boston Uprising flipping this point over, it's only a brief moment where they're going to be able to gain control of it. It's going to go right back to them as well. And it's all about how you set up these dive attempts as well, around the Wrecking Ball, the Tracer, as well as that the Sombra. Trying to follow up on a lot of the power drives that come through from your Wrecking Ball player.
Good coordination from Toronto as well, in terms of how they executed those dives. The pressure was nice. Michelle now getting back into mech, as just in time to be able to stop Boston from recapping. There's an EMP, only really caught 2.
That's a massive transcendence coming out from Lastro there, keeping his entire team up. The pulse bomb gets nothing. Aspire, though, taken out off to the side. In the middle of all this chaos as well, it was the Boston Uprising that flipped back over the point. The mines are scattered with the EMP coming out. It's not going to be catching on to too many people at all. Boston Uprising coming back in now with a transcendence. It's actually going to fade here, but Myeonbong's still able to put in that damage and applying the Discord Orb to all the necessary targets. Still committing the ultimates into this one. Nice whip shot just to push Sado away, but with Aspire going down, it's a lot of the damage and brute force that the Toronto Defiant was able to win out a lot of these team fights. It's going to be missing now.
Certainly is. Aspire actually first pick in both of those extended scrappy fights that formed that team fight. He got punished the first time around by a large amount of Boston just pulling back and peeling, and then the second time Myeonbong hits him with a headshot. This Tracer player for the Defiant is so crucial to finding success, and they still invested the rally in that previous fight, so now big advantage to Boston. They're going to have double support ultimate here, and that rally is going to be so difficult to get through. Plus, I'm 37 with an EMP.
It's good by Michelle eating up that pulse bomb, but Myeonbong's already answering back with Hisu down.
Another one.
He can't play into this. Yeah, Myeonbong absolutely on fire with the damage that he's outputting.
Just finding picks whenever he's under pressure here. They need more coordination.
Oh,
there's the EMP.
It's a bit of aggression there from the Boston Uprising. I mean, they invested a lot of ultimates. They did get the Transcendence out. So Lastro had to use that in response to keep the team alive, but now they're going right back in again. The ebbs and flows of the team fight this way. It's going in the direction of the Boston Uprising, though. Aspire falling again. It's not ideal with Sado gone as well. 95%. Someone's just got to be able to touch this in time. The Toronto Defiant don't look likely. Still, they will be able to get onto it just to force out the overtime in round number 1 of Busan. That hack onto Michelle, though, was critical. Gets the D-Mech in the end, and they've got ults for days now. With Myeonbong just carrying forwards the healing. Should be a closed-out team fight.
Oh, wait there. Don't call it too early. Valentine taking a little bit of damage, but Myeonbong again fires back with that pick. And I'm 37 is cleaning things up. You were completely right, Brent. Look, for a moment there, like Defiant might have been able to wrestle things back under their control. But Boston coming away with a relatively clean one, Brent. And I think the big difference maker was how much they were able to punish Aspire and to some extent Hisu too. What we saw in the first half of that round was some really nice dives and coordinated pressure from Aspire and Hisu, and then Sado coming through at the end as well with the pile drives. But more and more as you went through, Myeonbong was just finding picks on Hisu or on Aspire. Aspire got hacked one of these times as well. You cannot win fights if you're the Defiant when your star Sombra Tracer duo is getting destroyed by a Zen. You can't win.
Certainly makes it very difficult. We're heading over to the Mecha base now. This is what Scott was theorizing, actually, when he swapped his prediction back over to Boston, that they would be leaning in to these rush compositions. It definitely applies to more of their strengths as well as a team. They haven't looked too clean when it comes to a lot of the coordinated plays when they play outside of it, but off to a really great start, honestly, with that round and the teleport. It's aggressive right into them. The charge from across as well. I'm 37 just trying to build up a lot of that damage. The Ice Wall doesn't get too much, and it's a good rotation from Toronto. They bait it back. They haven't lost anybody yet, but the trouble is, how do they take
a fight here. Sado needs to try and set up some sort of engage, knocks him down to the low ground, and Sunjay with the whip shot. That's I'm 37 gone. Down and out, but Aspire also traded. Again, missing all that damage still. Boston are definitely getting taken out pretty close here. Has to commit this Amp Matrix into the fight. Myeonbong wants to try and turn it around. Fallen is Losum as well, giving that extra damage and healing to the rest of his team. Sado committing the mines with the power driver. They can't actually go anywhere, but they've got the immortality field. And yeah, committing into this fight, despite the fact that it looks like the Boston Uprising have the better heals and damage. Oh my word, that! I mean, I don't think it's going to matter, unfortunately, in the end, but it might in the end with Aspire getting the 3-piece with the pulse bomb in close quarters. Michelle's going to try and hold on to this one, but it's too scrappy, it's too disjointed. The team fight was already lost at that point.
That's an absurd play, but it's one pop-off moment when Aspire died early on. And it's not that I'm blaming the Tracer necessarily here, but the investment in that fight was a bit too much from the Defiant. Myeonbong was doing such a great job, though, of healing up all the rest of Boston. Stan 1 did drop incredibly low, and this EMP, it's got to find value. They've got the rally already out. There's the hack as well.
That's smart from Hisu, actually, just going for the neutral hack. Has the EMP, lets it rip. He saw the targets, but look at that. Faith was already just round the corner. Dodged it, came back in with a soundbite. It's going to be the free Earth Shatter there for Stan 1. Now the Symbol splits across the point, but Stan 1's still going to be going down. Boston, though, got a lot of damage to work with. I'm 37 has been charging up the beam. The Defiant just have to bide their time. They have to wait in close quarters before they decide to roll back in again. Nice little tech there from Sado as well. A little power driver up to top, and that's synced up with Aspire, tearing through them. Already 2 kills. Might be looking for the 3rd. Teleport down onto the floor, but nobody can reach it in time. And look at the damage that's being done. Aspire just ripping through them, following up on all of that damage and setup that Sado was doing.
And that's what this guy is capable of if you can keep him alive in the team fights. He's trying to play aggressively, and as long as he can avoid getting punished, he is good for kills. He is good for damage. We've seen it the whole time that he's been playing in the Overwatch League this season. Now Boston making some moves, though, over to the Torb, and they now have a flash to be able to deal with him. This gets more and more difficult for the Defiant Tracer.
Yeah, I really don't know how Aspire is going to be dealing with this one, but quick rotation here from the Boston Uprising. Really smart adaptations as well from them when it comes to the composition. Looks like they're just eyeing up the high ground here.
Look how close Hisu is to this EMP, though, Brett. This EMP could really turn things around, and Boston have a very slow comp.
Hisu just trying to get that last percentage point. Has it in the end. EMP comes through, and it did catch onto the tail end. That's the support line of the Boston Uprising. Gonna get caught out, and that is going to be the damage done. A big investment of ultimates there from the Toronto Defiant, but a necessary team fight to win.
I gotta be honest, man, that was so close to being a memp. They speed boost and they went through that area almost exactly at the time that Hisu chose to invest his Translocator.
Yeah.
He did manage to catch the 2 most crucial elements, being Myeonbong and Faith, but that was a close one. And now Defiant don't really have another big ultimate they can use to win something, unless Aspire gets another 3k pulse.
The rally is going to give them a bit of healing coming into this.
Myeonbong hacked.
They don't have the ultimates. Big pulse into the back. That's Faith. Gone. Taken out. No mortality field, or maybe just the timing wasn't there. Possibly just
Myeonbong was hacked.
I'm not sure.
No, Hisu got the hack onto Myeonbong, so they went in with the pulse. A really nice setup play by the DPS line from Defiant. And now all the pressure is on Boston.
They have to win out this team fight. Deadeye's going to get channeled up here. I'm 37 moving forwards with it. So they're going to be showing it a lot of respect. They do flip the point away. So it's going to take away the overtime now. The Toronto Defiant have to try and be aggressive against the Boston Uprising. You can see the way that they're playing, though. Close indoors is exactly where this composition likes to play. Sado, though, trying to set something up. Power driver comes down, almost getting blocked, but Aspire's taken out early. Once again, I'm 37 finds the kill. It's going to be the South Destruct over the top. No one going to be falling as a result of this one, but they need to try and touch the point now with the overtime going. This could be the final team fight. The Boston Uprising looks to be that they're in firm control here. Stan 1, he's eating a lot of damage, and his shield is going to withstand that South Destruct for but a moment. Now, a window of opportunity. The EMP is going to be scattered across the point once more. Hisu, maybe the hack was enough. Stan 1 falling, still just trying to play loose and around these corners. So Toronto Defiant rolling deep here. The overtime still going, and nobody's going to be able to touch. That's the Defiant essentially stealing that away from the Boston Uprising.
There were 4 players alive there, Bren. That's some bone-hurting Charlie Niner. that really felt like it was still turnable for Boston. And Toronto have been granted a lifeline. Sado takes a chug of the old 2-liter, and we're straight back into round 3.
Yeah, I gotta say, I think Boston are gonna be kicking themselves, honestly. Mecha base, one of the most ideal areas to play this rush composition. This is the 3K pulse bomb that ended up missing earlier. Incredible stuff from Aspire.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah, he's really been the win condition, I think, for Toronto. It's all about being able to keep him alive and have that impact in the fight.
See you later. My ultimate is charging. My EMP is charging. My ultimate is charging. My EMP is charging.
Bit of a tech issue there, but I am now back. I don't know where the Bren is. Here we go, the Toronto Defiant in that first fight were able to steal control away. And Sano with a little bit of a hack. Lastro very weak there, or rather with a Discord Orb on him, so vulnerable, but he still manages to get the Transcendence off. Hisu EMP online a little earlier than I'm 37 here, as well as Aspire. You can see him, he looks like he's just in the trenches, taking damage from all over the place, and at the very end of that trance, Lastro manages to get picked off. Thankfully, though, Hisu is there with that EMP to try and save things for Toronto, as this little skirmish for Boston is going to be repelled. That's half of the capture point already for the Defiant.
I mean, a critical fight to win, isn't it, for the Defiant now, and they're going to be thinking, thank God we ended up winning on Mecha Base here to take it right here. This is really where the composition that they're playing with a Wrecking Ball can start to excel, but Boston Uprising not looking to give up just yet. That's the EMP coming over the top, and Sanjay and Sado going to be caught out with that one. Locked up, they can't use too many of abilities, but now the Boston Uprising have gained positioning onto the point. Can start to try and flip this one over, but Aspire, Pulse Bomb in hand, is going to be forced to use that recall. That Shield Bash coming in handy for them, but again, going right into the backline. Pulse Bomb going to be missing just off to the side there, so not quite finding the target they were looking for. Still, the Toronto Defiant are the ones in control of this point. They're investing a lot of resources into this one. The Boston Uprising have not gained the edge that they were hoping for. In fact, Lastro, this guy's an absolute menace right now. He's just pumping in the damage, playing in the front lines, and look at the Discord Orb placement. The damage, volley after volley, orb after orb, with the Transcendence healing on top, is absolutely unstoppable.
Toronto have just demolished this round. There was no contest for Boston. Toronto got warmed up. And this map, Brent,
you're kidding me.
It all comes back to that final team fight on Mecha Base. That's the decider. This final round was absolutely one-sided in favor of the Defiant, and they were gifted that opportunity in the first place. If this series ends up being a close one, and this map makes a big difference, Boston are going to hate that they made that large mistake.
Yeah, you got to remember, this is the play-ins. This is the entire 2021 Overwatch League season. Everything they've been playing up towards this match right here. And yeah, what a mistake to make here with Toronto Defiant taking away map number 1. Going to go to a short break, but we'll be right back with the continuation of this epic series. We'll see you in just a few.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
This is it, ladies and gentlemen. The 2021 postseason has arrived. Head over to overwatchleague.com/2021-playoffs to learn more about the full playoffs and the grand final schedule, along with the drops headed your way as well. You know you're not going to be wanting to miss that. That's from September the 21st, as you can see on your screens, and the grand finals on the 25th. I mean, these are going to be some big matches, and I use the word a lot, but it really does fit well. The culmination of every team that is in the play-ins and the playoffs, all up to that singular point where it's essentially everything they've played for this year, all the trials and tribulations.
And for these two teams that we've got in front of us here, the Boston Uprising and the Toronto Defiant, it's about making it as deep through that as you possibly can. Neither of these teams are really thought of as being favorites to go on some incredible run, but if you can harness that playoff magic, maybe get a good read on the meta early on. We've seen magical, miraculous runs from various teams in the past that were sat in very similar scenarios to these two teams right here. We're going to be headed into Anubis with one substitution as Neist comes in instead of Aspire. So I'm wondering here whether we're going to see... So normally we see Winston comps when it comes to Anubis, and I'm theorizing that maybe we're going to see a lot of what we saw from that game a little earlier with Paris playing against the Washington Justice, where we essentially go back in time to our June Joust meta. It did seem to be really powerful, very effective on this map.
Yeah, it certainly did. And we saw a little bit as well of, I guess, the Winston and the Ana being played as well on Anubis, the rotation of these ultimates. The teams so far haven't really shied away from it. Still early days yet.
Oh yeah, that's always a classic. I mean, that really has been one of the most popular compositions this entire season long. Starting from the May Melee, the Ana Brig backline with the Winston. It looks like that's what the Toronto Defiant are teasing to start off with here, but Boston playing something I would not have expected. It makes sense for this team, but we don't often see it on this map. We haven't really seen it since very early on in the season. Teams just playing straight up rush on defense.
Yeah, I think it definitely tends to have its weaknesses that are kind of showcased a lot more, I think, when you're trying to hold checkpoint A. I mean, a full holding checkpoint A is kind of it's a pipe dream. You're never really going to be able to do it, but you want to play a composition that's also going to be able to get those holds off on checkpoint B as well, is I guess the idea behind it. The rush is interesting, but it definitely plays towards Boston's strengths. That's what Custer was talking about the entire time, but we'll see whether or not the Toronto Defiant are able to just quickly break past this one. I mean, the momentum from that first map can be understated, I think. They really did just kind of steal that way, it felt.
Hisu has got him behind, and Michelle is currently trying to mark him. And in the meantime, that means no Diva at the front line for the Boston Uprising, so they get peppered back. There's a good pick to start things off, though. That's a great pick. Brig going down.
What? I mean, that's a great kill, honestly. M37 going down, no more hit scan to try and put the pressure onto Neist here. Neist doesn't have the pocket, so he is incredibly susceptible to being taken down from the air, but now he can follow up on that dive. Just went straight over. Sado ends up paying with it. Ends up going down, but he did get the kill onto Faith. Forced out the Immortality field. And they have got the better positioning now. The high ground being taken by the Toronto Defiant. Boston forced to just back away onto the staircase and re-engage when they get their players back into the action. Now the Amp Matrix comes through. This is their time to shine. But the Toronto Defiant are showing it complete respect. Pulse bomb off to the side. He's not going to be connecting with that one. They need a pick off. They want to try and at least capitalize off of all of this space they've taken. Nano boost onto Sado as well. Now they collapse onto them.
And this Nano is exactly what the Toronto Defiant's comp is supposed to build towards. You have this up so early on, minute and a half on the clock, before really anything apart from the Amp Matrix was available from Boston. They're looking for a recontest potentially here. It actually looks like they're going to go for this. They have a Blizzard to work with as well.
Yeah.
Oh no, they back off in the end.
Yeah.
I think this is the right call. Boston were at risk there of using all of their defensive ults. They already have a comp that most people would not be inclined to run on B defense.
Yeah, it's quite strange. You can't really, take the aggressive defenses that we've seen teams be doing all the time recently when they play this
Winston with the Ana as well, just cycling those ultimates, but Boston already, oh my goodness, the Bionade into the back. Look at that, onto 3 targets. Faith almost getting taken down just from the follow-through damage coming their way. Valentine's so weak, gets taken out. No ice block in hand, ended up using it prior to that point. That's going to be the self-destruct, double self-destructs in fact. Dropped onto the point, but it's actually Hisu who ends up going down. 37 got to channel this one up. He needs to try and get a pick off here to try and stave off this aggression that's coming their way. Now we see that's going to be the sound barrier committed. The Boston Uprising with a bit of extra oomph to try and take themselves further into this fight, along with the Amp Matrix. It's more than enough ultimates to try and push away the Toronto Defiant. But they did end up walking away with 50% on the objective.
Yeah, that's huge. It really is. They used the nano boost towards the end here, and Toronto are coming back in with only a rally to really speak of. This feels like more of a push to try and force ultimates out of Boston. And so I would say, all in all, that was pretty decent. They do all die. The kill feed is filled up with white on red, but they forced out some crucial stuff there. They don't have a sound barrier. They haven't built up towards an amp matrix because the fight was really fast, and that blizzard is now gone. So as Lastro starts to get closer and closer to his nano, they can start to use that tool, speed boost forwards. Now they have a Lucio and a Reaper in the mix, and take all of that space. I like the approach here from Defiant.
Yeah, it's good discipline that they've been showcasing. Boston Uprising, though, with Stand 1 holding on to this Earth Shatter, it's got to be huge. Don't have much else to work with. Either that or a pick-off. There's the Earth Shatter! The bubble was laid down, and it did connect, I believe, onto the tank line there at the Toronto Defiant. But is it going to be enough for the kills? No. If anything, it just pumped in the damage to build up the nano boost, and now the ult cycle continues. Sado moves forward. The Primal Rage, with the durability of that nano boost eventually fading away. They just need to hold on. The Boston Uprising have done a good job of pushing them back with that pick onto Hisu, and they have managed to win out this team fight. A good disengage, though, from the Toronto Defiant as well. Not overstepping themselves, cutting the losses.
Myunbong's been a phenom in the backline for Boston. Not only on map 1 being able to get so many picks with the Zen, but now he's made the move over to the Batiste, and he's charging up the Ant Matrixes enough to be able to push away Defiant. And now we see what's pretty much, it's not exactly a mirror, but the two teams are going to play in a similar style. The big difference maker, in my opinion, being that Defiant have that Lucio to be able to take disengages, whereas Boston have a very static Reinhardt comp.
Teleport up to the high ground. Punk trying to just dislodge them away from it, but now all falling down. What an ice wall, actually. Blocking everybody off there. Beautiful stuff. You see, sound barrier committed. That's the Toronto Defiant coming straight back into this one. Molten Core to try and stave them away. Valentine putting in the damage for the rest of their team. With Sado falling, it's a great start for them. It's going to be another lost team fight. At the end of the day, the Toronto Defiant, they built up that sound barrier very quickly considering the swaps they made, but now they have built up a bit more. But still, I think Boston are going to be pretty pleased with the progress and defense that they managed to get off so far, especially with the stagger onto Michelle.
Extremely pleased. This was, I believe, over a 5-minute time bank. It may have been more like 4, but I think it was 5. I mean, that is a huge amount of time to be able to tick off the clock. And Toronto are not really coming up to any big win conditions here. Yeah, they've got window and like a wall to try and maybe get them onto the objective. But Boston are in pole position here to end up, you know, carving this out and holding it at 66%. Yeah. They were unlucky not to get the tick, though, as well. You're less than 0.1% away.
They missed a decimal somewhere. It's not even shown on the UI, but it wasn't there, and I'm 37! It's charged up the Deadeye right through the Amp Matrix, pierces right into them. That's Lastro taken out. Off to the side as well, nice little flashbang. It's going to catch them unaware with Sado. Not able to hold up the shield anymore. They're losing this team fight, getting staggered out of this one now with a final 50 seconds left. The Toronto Defiant not going to be having too much to work with. Obviously, the Blizzard is online for them, but the Boston Uprising in a very, very nice situation.
Brent, how do you lose your BAP to a Deadeye when you have a sim wall that you can play around, an ice wall, and an immortality field as well? There's something going wrong here with the Defiant's execution on these attacks, and I think it's because Boston have forced them into uncomfortable compositions. Yeah. I don't think Toronto look like they don't look like they've scrimmed too much of these kind of rush comps. So Custer's prediction looking pretty good right now, and that's a great boop from Faith. Everyone on the low ground with 10 seconds to go. This is so predictable the way they're pathing.
Yeah, and they're going to notice Blizzard's coming. It should be easy for Punk to eat up. They know it's online right now, coming straight through, off onto the side. The Blizzard There's a May wall actually to try and block it up, so it actually didn't end up getting 8. Locked up a lot of the players. Ultimates, it's a clash of styles with a sound barrier laid on top. The Toronto Defiant now investing absolutely everything, and it's got to be huge. Sado with the shatter. That's knocked so many targets down to the floor. The final effort from them, a last hurrah, but they might be able to get it over the finish line yet. Finally getting some progress being made, and it's a clean sweep of a team fight and an eventual capture.
Incredible sound barrier from Ansun Jae. Keeps everybody alive after they were in awful positions. The Toronto Defiant had a pretty decent idea of how they wanted to attack. It's just, it was so predictable the way they're going through. So Boston had this great read. They were all positioned perfectly. And then Ansun Jae's sound barrier comes through, saves them, and allows for the Blizzard to come off. Nice had to hold on to it forever because, like you said, Punk just knows. He knows that the Blizzard is coming. A lot of mind games happening in that final fight. But once again, crucially, Brent, the Boston Uprising let a great win condition slip through their fingers. Map 1, it happened on Mecha Base. The win just slips away from them. Right here again, I feel like that final fight is another example of that, where otherwise holding them to 66% would have been fantastic.
Yeah, and I think playing into these rush compositions, you can see the Blizzard was able to get off there. Ton of ultimates committed.
But the sound barrier buys time for the Blizzard. The Blizzard freezes up stand 1 and allows for the shatter. So it all comes back to how you're actually setting up those opportunities for the big plays. Yeah. I mean, Sado has the freest shatter of his life there because they're caught in the Blizzard, and Nice was only able to do that because his team kept him alive.
It's interesting to note as well, I think, that in NA at least, I was reading some of the social media messages from the Paris Eternal players, and they were saying they weren't used to playing against the rush comp. They were caught unaware and forced to adapt on the fly. I think there's been a bit of a difference, at least in terms of the practice that some of these teams are getting, where they're not used or not expecting a lot of these Reinhardt rush compositions at times. The longer this series goes on, the more Toronto might get used to what Boston are chucking at them, because they are going to be playing a classic composition here, the Lucio Moira.
Yeah, playing it with the Echo Reaper here as well. So a lot of pressure onto Defiant, but that is a fantastic counter dive by Sado. Valentine, though, the focusing beam is great from him. His Echo's been up and down this season, but that is a monster performance.
Yeah, kites him all the way back with the flight, sends in the bomb, sends in the beam. It all comes together. I mean, Echo still puts out a ridiculous amount of damage, even without the pocket. And that's going to be a speedy capture here for the Boston Uprising.
Again, it's the pace behind that Lucio. Faith trying to pick Lucio as much as possible, it seems, in this series. And Defiant getting run over by it there. Once this ult cycle comes online, though, Defiant are going to be in a decent position, but Myunbong is always going to have his ult up before Lastro. So there is a timing window here. A speed boost and the Coalescence could give them at least one tick.
Coalescence has got to be massive. An aggressive fade right into the back line. It's going to lead right into this one, but they're not getting too much done, actually. Sado, look at the way he's just kind of disjointing them as well, just battering away at every single angle, and it's the Toronto Defiant with the 2 picks they needed. Off the back of that, the rest of the team's going to be falling like dominoes. The Boston Uprising composition really relies on the whole team as a group, working together as one solid unit. And one of the worst team fights to lose, honestly. The Boston Uprising were hoping they could take that in one fell swoop, but now they've allowed the Toronto Defiant to set up in this defensive position and rotate these ultimates with the nano boost online.
And this is what we've seen so many times this season. You hold forwards as the defensive team, get the nano, dive with Sado, but Boston do have the Lucio to be able to disengage from this, potentially. We'll see how Boston... I mean, they have a Reaper as well. They could just try and match it and kill Sado. Hard when he's nano boosted, but they've made him scared. Defiant have fallen back.
It's a hard engage into the backline here with the Death Blossom as well. The bubble's going to be eating up a lot of this one. Rally armor though from Ansun Jae. That's going to give them so much health to work with. Valentine just commits into that self-destruct, obviously, at the tail end of the Echo duplication. Not going to be getting too much, in fact, staggered out of this one still. With Michelle falling, could be an opportunity. No, not quite. The Toronto Defiant are absolutely in position to clean it up.
Defiant used nano, right? So that does give you a little bit of a window of opportunity. Also, the combination of the Lucio and the Reaper does seem to be a deterrent for Defiant diving aggressively on defense. The player as well that we haven't highlighted too much of that's doing work for Toronto is Hisu. On Tracer right now is doing so much in these team fights.
Yeah. Has the pulse bomb, and you can see that the way Boston play, like I said before, they have to remain grouped up. It sets up for some easy pulse bombs. A lot of pressure on Punk to try and eat them up coming their way in their direction. Now with the bubble dropped down as well, that's a coalescence right into the back line. Toronto just waiting it out here, and that's the pulse bomb right onto Valentine. Diving in, nice, just about building up that Primal Rage at the end of it. Just going to be surviving as well, staying a bit longer in the form of Winston. And it should be just a cut-off team fight just like that.
Faith was getting primaled there. Potentially, if Sado had not been up in his face, maybe we would have seen a sound barrier investment. Unlikely even then, though, considering that Valentine was the first pick. But Defiant have so many tools that they can use to try and deal with the Boston Uprising. One Bionade is devastating against a Moira Lucio comp. Then you also have the Nanos, the Primals, the Pulse Bombs. The Defiant's composition is the meta comp on Anubis, or at least the tanks and the supports are the meta comp for a reason.
You can see that they're not going to be able to go for that, again, defensive hold here, because the speed at which Boston take the fight is just way too quick. Already jumping straight into them with Nice going down, and Sado didn't really get too much done with that nano boost. He was chasing targets aimlessly, it felt at times, but luckily the collapse is there, right onto the bridge. The Boston Uprising still trying to attempt to turn this around, but eventually they're going to say, no, we're giving this team fight up. Try not to lose anybody else, but the way that they're holding this as well, it's going to be the DMAC on top of it. Boston might need to be looking down now at some compositional changes here. It hasn't really been working for them. The Defiant have read nicely how to kind of operate around this kind of Lucio Moira comp.
Yeah, I think what Boston are looking for here, rather than a compositional swap, is to punish a dive from Sado, or maybe find a pick on Hisu. I think they need to try and catch somebody that's pressuring them early to set up for a 6v5 fight.
They're still trying to go. They've definitely got the speed for it. Trying to force out the cooldowns. There's the fade gone. Hisu's going to be calling that one. Definitely an opportunity for the play. 37 into the back. That is a beautiful one. The ultimate goes off about a hitch. That's going to be 3 players down, and now the ultimate. Oh, it's really getting sticky. 85% and counting. The coalescence just beaming down Michelle. No one able to really touch this one, but Sado just about gets in there with the Primal Rage. May be able to stall this one out along with the duplicate as well. Nice, just trying to build up the bomb. Not able to get it as well. Would have been crucial for them, but still the turnaround comes round. Hisu with the post bomb. It takes out Myungbong, and now a lack of healing for the Boston Uprising. How are they going to be remaining in this team fight? I think they've realized it themselves as well, as Faith just tries to exit out of the scene of the crime. Not quite enough. 98%. Stop dead short. Literally microseconds away, it felt like, from potentially getting that capture.
Yeah, and the 2 players that managed to keep it alive were Nice, utilizing his duplicate to be able to keep the point alive, and Sado overlaying it with his Primal. Both players desperate to keep that objective alive, and then Hisu comes out of the play. You do not often see Pulse Bomb kills onto a Moira. You've got to force the fade out early and then still find that kill. And now Boston have gone around to a Reinhardt comp themselves. This is going to be easy pickings, I feel, for this nano boost onto Sado. If he can try and build up a Primal as well in this fight. Hello. Nano boost confirmed. Hello.
There it is. Confirmed in the end. Sado's going to be getting this one. Forces out the sound barrier though. Still taking a ton of damage, but wants to build up this Primal Rage. It's the one tool they need, but look at the beam. Myungbong's taken out. I'm 37, a lot of pressure on him to try and turn things, but I don't think it's going to be doable. The Toronto Defiant had every ultimate that they needed to try and shut that one right in its trap, and that's going to be the cap denied. The Toronto Defiant winning out map number 2 here. One step closer to moving forwards into the play-ins. One step closer to knocking out the Boston Uprising.
This season for the Toronto Defiant, like I said earlier, has been the best they've had as a franchise. But it has still firmly been a gatekeeper season. They've only played against the Boston Uprising once so far this year, even though they've been in roughly similar territory in the West. And that was a 3-0 win for Boston. That is not going to be replicated here today, but Toronto have an opportunity to get their revenge. A 3-0 as they head into the next round of play-ins would make it difficult for the Shock to decide who to play against, perhaps.
Yeah, loads of scary teams, honestly, all around. As we're heading deeper and deeper into the playoffs, I think, as well. Especially if you look at the quality of the competition. The Toronto Defiant, I mean, if they're currently seeing a bit of a swing of momentum, potentially the best Overwatch they've played all season yet, and on the other side of things, you've got the Washington Justice as well.
I think you're looking at this as Houston and Shock, and you're thinking, I don't want to go up against either of these teams at the moment. Still, this series right here is not over just yet, and we might see potentially a final map, or maybe not. Can the Boston Uprising kind of swing things around? We're going to be finding out just after this short break, so don't go anywhere.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
This could be it. The last chance for the Boston Uprising here as we're heading into map 3 in this series. Obviously, it's going to be their map pick. They get to choose in this format here with the play-ins and the playoffs. The loser gets to pick. And it's the Toronto Defiant really just looking large and in charge when it comes to the course of this series. Arguably, map number 1 was kind of handed to them, but the last round was not convincing really from the side of the Boston Uprising. But this is it here. You can't focus on the past. You've got to focus on the present, which is going to be this upcoming map.
But if you do look to the past for just a moment, you'll see that these maps have been very winnable. And so the Boston Uprising should not lose hope. They're going to pick King's Row here, and that has to start the reverse sweep. I think that's a really interesting pick. It fits into the idea of them wanting to play Lucio comps, maybe wanting to play more Reinhardt and force Sado onto the Rhine. What do you think about this, Brent? Like, what kind of answers do you think the Toronto Defiant are going to have? Because my brain immediately goes over to Hisu.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Hisu on the Hangzhou has been a bit of a menace. Hangzhou on King's Row as well, in particular. Quite a nice pick, honestly. Synergizes with the way that, I suppose, the sightlines play off of one another. And it's a good answer, honestly, if they are going to be playing the rush all around, I think. Because the guy's just been dominant. I mean, look at these statistics here. In terms of solo kills, critical hit kills, the deaths as well. I mean, he's ranking very high up in terms of the overall rankings out of 14 players, you can see at the bottom there. The guy, definitely a dominant force, underrated at times in his career as well. And against the Boston Uprising, I think they're in a very dangerous spot, Josh, because the longer this series goes on, the better Toronto are going to be getting at playing against this rush composition that Boston are bringing out. It's pretty evident that Toronto don't want to be leaning into this one unless they feel like they need the mirror to match and break through something. And I think the more time, the longer this series goes, the less likely it is that the Boston Uprising are going to get those opportunities to kind of take the Toronto Defiant off guard a little bit.
I think for Boston, it's very important here that they're able to play a comp that forces Toronto into a mirror. I think that does appear to be the circumstances in which Toronto's looked a little shaky, and there are so many viable compositions heading into play-ins and playoffs before the meta really solidifies itself that even though it's been 4 weeks since we saw Boston play, that's not a huge amount of time to figure out what's going on, especially when you're not scrimming against everybody in the league. You really need match experience to try and boil down what the best compositions are. And these teams don't have time. They just have to pick something they're comfortable in and hope that this new patch works with it. Boston are going to start here with the Hangzhou and the Ball and the Zen, almost baiting the Defiant into trying this, I feel. And Hisu's going to start out on the Sombra here, but maybe we'll see him flex over at some point on King's Row.
Yeah, went away against my expectations of what to think here for the Boston Uprising, but I think something new is promising, honestly, for them to get things started here. And yeah, you can see Toronto Defiant are going to be playing a pretty similar composition in terms of, I suppose, the play style with the Wrecking Balls themselves. Valentine taken out, though, by the whip shot. Just trying to play off, I suppose, the Discord Orbs coming from the high ground of Myeongbong. Sanjay needs to be careful. Faster shield bash just to safety here. The positioning has been gained. Look at that arrow. I'm 37. What is that?
And another one immediately afterwards onto Neist as well. Crazy stuff. Woo. You know, hey, Brent, these are the kind of plays when you see your opponent get the kills on Hangzhou that make you think, I could do that. I could do that. Yeah. Let me pick that one. We'll see if Hisu goes for the ego challenge at some point here. But he's 55% to an EMP. And if I'm 37 had not found those two picks, the Defiant were in control.
Yeah, in terms of positioning, they had everything. Trying to build up a bit more now with the Pulse Bomb comes in. That's a good power drive, but it's a little bit out of line still. The kills go through anyway. The Boston Uprising get it there with Anson J taken out by the Dragon Strike, and Valentine. His eyes set there onto Nice, just trying to chase him down. Just giving up in the end, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But okay, Hisu now is up to his EMP. It's been a relatively slow one to charge, looking at like a minute 45 before he gets it online. And he's got to worry about Myeongbong. Last time Lastro went down relatively early with a Discord Orb on him. I'd like to see something similar here. Myeongbong's going to be playing the sightlines a little more effectively because he's the defender and he has access to them. They've got to be cautious about it. Double support ults are so good for countering.
Oh wow, that arrow. Okay, Hisu forced to reveal himself there. He's taking a lot of damage. That's a pulse bomb from the high ground. Nice doesn't get too much, but they do get 2 ticks. It's under Defiant in control. And now the contest has to come through from Boston. The rally armor though. You're gonna D-mech onto Punk along with the Transcendence as well. Hisu, the EMP, did go out there. Maybe forcing the Transcendence there in response, but they have a better one now. Lastro comes across the point, giving his team the extra heals. It's all on Valentine. What a stick off to the side, but it was on the Transcending. Oh my goodness, the Zenyatta. Yeah, and that's not going to be getting too much. The second of invulnerability that he was granted, not enough to get that kill in the end, pushing him away from the point. The Boston Uprising still looking for ways to come back into this one. They do have the numbers advantage, and with Lastro still alive, They have so much more up their sleeves, I suppose, than the Discord Orbs as well.
It might sound too early, Brent, but I want to see Boston swap. They're playing this composition worse positionally, and they don't have the same level of firepower coming from their Tracer player. I think Valentine, you know, we've seen him on the flex DPS where he can look great on certain things, but I don't think they look like they're going to be able to beat the Defiant on ball comps here. I think the faster they swap over to something Lucio-based, the better it's going to be for them. I'm 37 as well. All right. How are you going to synergize? He does provide a bit more stability to the back line. Valentine in a sneaky position here too.
They've got to try and coordinate something though. Power driver off into the side, but you can't play into it, I suppose. The rally going off on Anson J. That's a good pulse. That's going to be finding the target there with Yongbong going down. And the Toronto Defiant on the attack going to be steadily moving forwards. They have to take care of Valentine here, but the pressure is there. They force out the blinks, force out the recall. Moving forward, Sato looks a little bit annoyed almost at the state of what's happening.
Hisu can start setting up pretty far forwards now. They've got Neist and Sato playing together, and then Hisu deep in enemy territory, waiting for an opportunity. You can see him just behind both the DPS picks right now, and that's devastating. I mean, that could just seal the deal for Checkpoint B immediately. They might not even need this EMP.
That's the mines, though, scattered. Anson J falls because of it. Lastro trying to clear as many of them as possible, create a path for his team to play around. In the back line, look at this. Hisu in trouble, but a moment has the peel necessary, but they've bought enough time here. The Boston Uprising on the defense now. They've got to try and push through. I'm37 is in such a dangerous position, still gets the shots though. Hisu falls. The remech online for them, and Boston are going to start to get the players back in. They have to set up something nice. Pulse bomb is going to be the connection, but not enough. Onto a target at least that was low enough here. Sato gets chased down, and nice the tracking. That's I'm37 taken, removed. 1 minute and 30 seconds left for them to try and push this one forwards. But the rally as well, they are really staving them off here, Josh.
Only for a moment though. Here comes Hisu with EMP, Stand 1 dies, Checkpoint B in their favor, and now Toronto can really start the momentum going. Boston have found some glimmers of hope, some moments. I'm37 with his 2 kills on Hangzhou, some decent picks here and there, but overall this is Defiant firmly in control. All of these scrappy fights they've been able to turn. They've always been able to engineer themselves advantages, and now Hisu moves over onto the Hangzhou as well. Here's where I want to get a heat check from Hisu. Is he still in that insane form?
What a stick. Yeah, Myunbong, just taken out. Nothing to stop it. Wasn't 8 up.
We're not even going to be able to see Brent. They're going to win too quickly for us to be able to see if Hisu's in god form. Neist and Sato are doing enough themselves.
Yeah, this card is just sailing in. 2 minutes remaining. They're probably going to be able to get a contest. Stand 1. Nope, booped off to the side. No power driver for you. See you later. Right down to the bottom of King's Row. And that is just, dominating, I think, from the Toronto Defiant. Like you said, Josh, some moments, some glimmers from the Boston Uprising where they stopped them here and there. But ultimately, Toronto Defiant, they look like the better team here.
Yeah, a little bit of a wonky compositional pick, I think, from Boston. It definitely subverted our expectations going for the Ball Zen kind of pick. And to be fair to them, they did find some success running that on Busan. They had opportunities to win that map. Oh, yeah. But here on King's Row, if you're going to pick this map, obviously you're going to play what you played in Scrims, right? You're not going to change things up just based on a whim. But I would have liked to see them try and focus a bit more. I think it would have been theoretically better had they gone towards more Lucio-based comps, because trying to go up against Toronto on ball comps and trying to match Valentine on Tracer into Hisu or Neist, trying to match the Hangzhous or the Sombras, you just don't have the heavy hitters to be able to handle Toronto on this comp. So you've got to lean elsewhere. And this is not looking great here for Boston's chances of making it through these play-ins. Toronto have definitely come out to play, playing some of the best Overwatch they've played all season towards the end of it here. And it just seems too much.
Yeah.
What a play.
Magical play. Was it the whip shot into the boosters? I didn't quite see it. Was it just the boosters?
I thought it was just the boosters, but potentially there was some whip shot action there. I'd have to go back and watch. But that was like, that was... Michelle just called corner pocket and punted Stan 1 into the hole.
Boston are going to be leaning back onto this Moira Lucio composition now. Something that they've probably practiced, but you need to find with a bit of pace and speed.
I like this look a lot more, though. I like this look a lot more.
Yeah, they've definitely looked more comfortable playing this.
And they're going to be able to rotate, build Myunbong's ult so fast. Oh, they lose I'm37 a little bit too early there. This is going to cause them some problems. They should probably go for the full reset and try and just push with a Coalescence afterwards, but maybe they try and invest. I mean, I'm37's coming off the spawn.
Yeah, that's going to be the Coalescence. Toronto just looking to try and dodge and juke around the corners. Myunbong's just desperate to get any sort of value he can out of it, but he's taken out. Still, it's a battle taking place in close quarters, and that is going to be favoring the Boston Uprising's composition. They are finding their way a bit of a win here and there. Eventually, the players are taken out, and with the closer spawns, I think Boston should be able to comfortably hold on to this one. I don't know if there's going to be a chance to recontest with the Toronto Defiant. They are playing a very mobile composition, and it looks like they're gearing up for it.
Yeah. Hisu's going to be able to zip in here, maybe try and force out a fade, look for a pulse afterwards too. Nice getting close to his duplicate too, as another player that can delay this.
Didn't end up getting it. Hisu taking a lot of damage, but with Faye falling, that is not ideal. Lastro going to be committing to Transcendence now as well. Nice with his duplicate, has that self-destruct, going to be just letting it loose there at the choke point, just clearing and pushing them all the way back. Boston just a bit too split right now, only able to get 89% off the back of that one. That recontest on the Toronto Defiant was expertly timed.
Boston, I feel, are lacking some proactivity. They need the comm there to speed boost aggressively into the backline and look for a pick. They're trying to rely on their ults. They're going to have a lot of ults this time around. Sound Barrier is great for being able to provide that extra sustainability so they can get in and attack Lastro and Ansem J.
No way!
Oh,
what a stick! They had no idea Hisu was there. Just didn't quite check the corner.
He had the invisibility cloak on.
He did. Yeah, little gift. Not sure who gave it to him, but that's going to be an instant team fight win anyway.
You've got it. You've got it.
King's Row can't be that far away from Hogwarts, right? Probably just popped in.
No,
Boston,
no,
I mean, the good part about that, though, is 90 seconds on the clock. Boston still have their big ultimates to be able to work with. So it reset them, but only for about 20 seconds. It's not a disadvantage economically.
Coalescence comes through. Valentine, though, he ended up using almost everything when he was in the form of the Echo. Now the duplicate comes through. Boston layering it on top. That's a Sound Barrier to try and win it. They've taken so much damage, though. And again, Hisu, he's built it up again. A two-piece. Stam 1 Myunbong taken out. Removed from the fight. They're trying to stay alive. It's a clean exit and cut off away from this one. Still, not too much here. Only a single tick needs to be gained. If the Boston Uprising come back in with a couple of more picks, it could be turnable. Valentine needs to stay alive, but he's eventually going to get rolled through. Sado takes him out. But now the bodies are on the point. The Boston Uprising are here, getting that capture up. Another roll through, but boop away for Sado. Not going to be able to contest this one. Transcendence healing, not enough. I think it got cut off there by the tail end of the bubble. So it didn't actually connect onto Sado to keep him up as he was rolling to contest. Could have been a critical placement there of that bubble, and in the end, it is the Boston Uprising. Who end up capping it up. With a bit of time now, just about under 3 minutes. It's not ideal, but at least they have a lifeline here, Josh.
Exactly. It's not much, but they got to take it. Myunbong close to another Coalescence, though. Toronto Defiant are going to be able to play in a lot of these weird angles on King's Row. Their composition is so mobile that they can scatter. Even though it's built in quite a linear way, their comp can play the high grounds, can hide inside houses, that kind of thing. Look at Stan 1's position in here. He's going to try and get behind them and primal for a setup. Has anyone spotted him? Yes, Hisu. Scouted. He can't find the backline. He was looking for Ansem J and Lastro, and they're just nowhere to be found. There they are.
The team is going to be backing them up, though. Boston Uprising have eventually pushed all the way back in, so they are grouped up as 6. A lot of damage off onto Michelle.
Here's the call.
Too aggressively into this fight. There's the Coalescence in the end, and it's the duplicate as a response to it. Nice just wants to try and build up this self-destruct to try and push them away, but with Sado going down, it's a great start for them. The Boston Uprising could look to try and push this one forward. That's going to be a nice stun. I'm37 cancelled out of the Death Blossom in the end. Hisu not going to be getting too much done with that pulse bomb either. 8 up. Self-destruct over the top. Toronto pushed away around the corner just to try and dodge it. Out of the line of sight now. Boston still continuing carrying this one.
What a pile drive!
At the floor, what a power drive right into it. follows it up with the sticky bombs and the mines. So much damage, and now the Boston Uprising have decided to take it aggressively right into them. They need picks though, and they need them now if they're trying to win this one. It's so difficult for them though with no real key ultimates. Valentine has to do work, but with Valentine taken out, it's not looking quite too doable. Still, stand one with this Primal Rage. Might be able to create a bit of magic, but with Hisu tracking down the stray targets, Boston are running out of fumes, running on fumes.
Well, this 1v1 is so crucial though, genuinely. The Moira being able to stay alive there allows the rest of Boston Uprising to coalesce around the cart and continue this payload push. Hisu is behind them. They know that Hisu is lease. They got to keep an eye on him.
Hisu's lease. This cart dangerously close though to the objective, and this is what Boston are looking for. No ultimates for them. The coalescence is going to get built up relatively quickly. Anson J now with the rally. That's just a response to push them away. They force out the fade. That's what they were looking for, and they get the kill. Myunbong taken out. Pulse bomb doesn't quite connect, but the mines will do the job. 23 seconds left. The more staggered this teamfight gets, the worse it's going to be for the Boston Uprising.
And Toronto Defiant this season has been their best. The last time they played against Boston, it was a 3-0, and they were on the receiving end of it. To be able to make a statement like this in the play-ins would be absolutely emphatic. There's only a few seconds left. Can anyone on the Uprising even touch? Just about. I'm 37 gets there, Brent.
They take a lot of damage in the process, but maybe it's turnable. Valentine, a lot of pressure. The Coalescence just try and beam them all down here. The Toronto Defiant, though, have got all the ultimates really they need. The Transcendence eventually comes out, and Lastro's going to be healing up the rest of his team. Boston, the sound barrier a bit late, connects onto a lot of the characters. They might be able to try and stay alive in this one, but with Stamon falling, oh, it's not too good at all. Still, self-destruct. It's a last-ditch effort. Michelle, though, pushes them all the way off the objective once more. Rolling through, Sato just trying to beat down Punk so he can't get back into the mech. And the players, the Toronto Defiant, they regroup and they posture them off the point in the end. GG's in the chat. And it's the Toronto Defiant who move further forwards here in our play-ins. The Boston Uprising with a conclusion and an end to their season.
And a good season it was as well. Just a moment to focus on Boston before we congratulate the winners. Their season has ended, sure, but what a difference compared to 2020. Picking up a bunch of upcoming players that have proven themselves, giving another opportunity to players like I'm 37, and they exceeded expectations. No one was really expecting Boston to go, 7-9 after losing soon at the beginning of this season. They bought the dip, they improved from last year. The only way was up, as Jonathan would say. And they can be proud of what they accomplished, but they will make it no further through the play-ins. The honor of that goes to the Toronto Defiant, who absolutely earned it. There was barely any emotional response at the end of that match, Brent. Toronto knew they were the better team here today.
Another day in the office for them, it felt like. And look at them, they're all out of their seats right now. Probably thinking, okay, well, got to prep for our next match, which is going to be coming up tomorrow. Exactly. That's a championship mentality, I think. You need that to really just try and steamroll ahead. And we've said it many times, actually, Josh, over the course of this series, but this is the best that the Toronto Defiant has really looked. They've really elevated themselves towards the end of the season. That's the most important, I think, takeaway as well, is that, you know, we've looked past in the Overwatch League's history, and I think of plenty of teams that have found the right footings at the right time, getting hot at the playoff section. I mean, Washington last year, we have London from 2018 as well. It doesn't really matter too much how you do in the regular season, but it just matters how you're really going to be finishing near the end. And Toronto Defiant looking like they are pretty comfortable in terms of knowing what they want to play and how well they've been playing. Let's take a look at our player of the match as well, so I'm not just monologuing about them. And it is going to be going to Lastro as an individual as well. His performance was fantastic, I think, on the Zenyatta as well. Always with the right target with the Discord Orbs. The Transcendences were perfect as well to push his team over the line.
Yeah, he had a great performance today, especially when he was able to... I mean, what I was impressed with was his performance on Anubis in particular. But being able to pump out a huge amount of not just healing, but offensive pressure when he was on the Ana too. And, okay, Hisu steals the show a little when it comes to King's Row, but this roster for the Toronto Defiant is filled full of players that have had success before. We already knew that Lastro was a proven quantity heading into the Toronto Defiant this year around. Same with Hisu, same with Sato, to some extent same with Michelle as well. And for this team, it's all about just pulling their talent together and finding a system that works well, finding a good read on the meta that works for them too. That's what I'm looking for Toronto. They don't look like a team that's on a crazy heater that's going to go on a wild upset run and upset everybody, but they still are looking like a team that you have to give respect to. You're not just going to be able to barrel them over.
Yeah, a difficult decision, I think, for our higher seeded teams in the play-ins. The Shock, which is the team that's going to be picking their opponent, I believe, in the post-show today. So obviously you're not going to be wanting to miss that one.
Ren, who would you go for? If you're the San Francisco Shock's coaching staff right now, of the teams you saw today, Washington against Toronto, who do you feel like would be the safer pick if you want to guarantee your playoff spot?
I think Washington have the scariest peaks, honestly, or the scarier peaks as a team. I think with the talent that they've got, if they come online at the right time at the playoffs, and you don't really know what they're capable of, that's a scary prospect. With Toronto, you kind of know what you're getting. You're getting a team that's gradually gotten better over the course of the season, and they've instilled in that discipline. Overall, though, I mean, it's a very hard task because, listen, we've had some 3 Overwatch today. It's been pretty one-sided affairs. It's hard to grasp just how good your opponents are when that ends up happening. Obviously, an interview with Hisu as well coming up after this break as well, and that's going to do it for the matches of the day. But of course, stick around. You're not going to be wanting to miss this one, of course. The interview and a bit of trash talk potentially from Mr. Delisi as well. He gets to pick the Shock's opponents moving into the matches tomorrow. We'll see you in just a few.
먹으면 커피 되겠네. 야 우리 순대 키워가면서 민혁이야. 야 루시보다 루시보다. 동원 나왔죠. 3에서. 트래커. 와우.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome to the Watchpoint Post Show. We're joined now by Hisu from Toronto Defiant. Hisu, congratulations on the win. 자, 희수 선수 안녕하세요. 그리고 오늘 승리 너무나 축하드립니다.
감사합니다.
Alright, Hisu says thank you. Let's jump right into the question. My first question for you, Hisu, is Toronto Defiant ran with a lot of dive compositions today against the Boston Uprising. We saw a lot of Wrecking Ball dive and also a little bit of Winston dive as well. Was this to counter Boston's playstyle or were you guys just playing to your strength? 자, 첫 번째 질문은 오늘 보스턴과의 경기에서 좀 굉장히 좀 다이브 조합을 많이 본 것 같아요. 저희 또 토론토 쪽에서 뭐 레킹볼 아니면 또 윈스턴 조금 사용을 하신 거를 제가 봤는데 이 다이브 조합을 이렇게 자주 썼던 이유가 보스턴의 플레이 스타일을 좀 어떻게 카운터를 하기 위해서인지 아니면 그냥 토론토 팀의 어떻게 보면은 제일 잘하는 뭐 조합을 아니면 제일 편안한 픽으로 이렇게 경기를 하기 위해서 쓰셨는지 궁금합니다.
일단 저희가 일부러 보스턴을 노리고 그 조합한 게 아니라 저희가 다이브를 더 선호하는 선수들도 많고 그리고 저희 약간 벙커 같은 조합은 저희가 너무 답답해서 그런 줄 못하겠더라고요. 하긴 하지만 그래도 저희는 다이브를 더 선호해서 저희가 더 잘하는 거 하자 해가지고 제가 트레이서도 원래 잘 안 했었는데 연습해가지고 이런 다이브류를 좀 많이 보여드린 것 같아요. 결론은 저희가 잘하는 거 한 것 같습니다.
Right. It was definitely not something that we came up with to counter Boston's playstyle. It was more for our sake because a lot of our players on our team really like dive compositions and we feel comfortable running dive compositions as well. It's not that we can't play bunker style. We can play the bunker if we have to actually play it, but we would rather play dive if given the choice because that is what we like to do and that is what we think we are good at. And because we tend to be utilizing a lot more dive. That is why I had to practice a lot more tracer. I haven't used tracer a lot throughout the season, but because we are fully committing to the dive compositions, I had to practice tracer, and that is why we're utilizing a lot of these Winston or Wrecking Ball dive compositions. All right, my next question for you, Hisu, is. With today's win, of course, you guys are just one step closer to making it into the playoffs. So what can the Toronto Defiants do to actually make it into the playoffs and have a chance to win it all this season? 자, 두 번째 질문은 이제 한 경기만 더 승리를 거두시게 되면 이제 프로부로 진출을 하게 되실 텐데요. 어떻게 하면은 토론토 팀이 다음 경기를 승리를 하고 프로까지 진출을 할 수 있을까요?
일단 저희가 실수를 일단 최대한 줄이고 저희가 하던 대로 다이브 조합도 하지만 저희가 의외로 다른 조합도 많이 준비했어서 상대가 뭘 하든 그거에 대해서 맞게 대응만 잘하면은 저희가 충분히 하와이를 갈 수 있다 생각해서 저희는 그렇게 해서 갈 겁니다. 잘하면 될 것 같아요.
Right.
원래 하던 대로만 하면.
잘하면. 알겠습니다. Right. I think, but the biggest thing for us is to try to make less mistakes in game. Also, like I mentioned, we are really good at the dive compositions, but we are practicing a lot, not only dive but other compositions as well to counter and fight off against whatever our opponents' compositions or whatever the other teams are running. So if we just play to our strength, if we play like how we practice in our scrims, then I think we have a chance to go to Hawaii and go into the playoffs. All right, that is it for the interview. Hisu, thank you so much for your time and good luck tomorrow. 자, 이걸로 인터뷰 마치겠고요. 희수 선수 너무도 수고하셨습니다. 감사합니다.
정말 감사합니다.
Thank you so much. All right, let's head back to the desk.
Congratulations, of course, to the Toronto Defiant. Thank you so much, Danny, for getting the inside scoop. And this gotta be one of my favorite answers of players. You know, like the classic, if we play like we do in scrims, we got this.
It's
like
true
the
though, Zoe. Come on.
I know
it's true. As a player, it's so true. I feel for
Can I be honest? Because you know how I do a lot of these interviews, and a lot of players tend to say similar phrases. So when I hear a couple, like the first word of that sentence, I immediately just, okay, I know, I'm gonna go with this sentence. It's just like, we have this sentence.
Okay. I love it. Anyway, I mean, this has been a quick first day of playing matches, but don't turn off those streams. just yet, because we do have Super standing by from the San Francisco Shock, and he will select their opponent for tomorrow's match in just a bit. But first, let's chat about the match we did get to watch just now. What have we learned about the Toronto Defiant, Costa?
I think we learned that they're going to try and stick with the style that we know them for from the Countdown Cup when they did look so strong. So obviously, I flip-flopped unsuccessfully, but I think Boston did sort of do what I expected them to do. They played more of these Lucio Brawl compositions, but Toronto Defiant, they seemed ready for it. They had it on lock. They understood how they wanted to play the composition around it, and Boston just didn't really stand a chance. And that's a great look for the Toronto Defiant moving further into the playoffs, because they've shown an ability to play the Wrecking Ball, but not only that, on Temple of Anubis, we actually saw them get the win playing that Brawl of the Reinhardt of their own as well. So as Hisu just said in that post-game interview, they wanting to play that dive style, which they're comfortable with, they're strong with, but they're also willing to play other things if that comes to it, which is very important in the playoffs where you're playing against so many teams, so many different styles. You need to be able to have that adaptation. And I'm really excited for the Toronto Defiant because this is the best result they've ever had as a franchise. And I think they're finally stepping up to a point which they can really get to, because there was a lot of hype around this team of they have Sato, a veteran from the Philadelphia Fusion, they have Hisu as well, and they're just sort of really sort of coming into their own as a team. Will they be able to get over some of the other teams in the league? I'm not 100% sure yet, but I'd be happy to be proven wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they rocked up with confidence, and that's all you can ask for, really, if you're a player or a fan of said team. Now, it is time to find out who the Shock will be picking for their first play-in match happening tomorrow. So let's bring him in. Super from the San Francisco Shock is joining us to select their opponents. So welcome to the show, Super.
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
I was really worried that you're just going to leave it at hey.
No.
There we go. You wouldn't do me like that, even though it's been a while since we got to chat. Now, what did you see today, just to dive straight into this, from both of those winning teams? Anything that may or may not have swayed your or your team's decision, and which one you're going to pick tomorrow?
Actually, we think that both Washington and Toronto played. They both played pretty well, and I don't think either of them really had much trouble with their matches. But we still figure one of the teams that we would prefer to play, so.
Got it, I got it. Okay, keeping the cards close to your chest, but it's time now anyway to throw down the virtual glove and make your pick. So who's gonna be the lucky opponent for the Shock tomorrow?
We will be playing Toronto tomorrow. That is our pick.
Right on. I want to elaborate anything which made that decision easier for you?
Honestly, I just feel like, we just think that's our best chance, and we're gonna go with what we think is what we're comfortable with and confident with. So we decided to choose Toronto.
No, I mean, I think personally it's a great pick. I'd never, if I can avoid playoff DK, I will avoid playoff DK. So right, we're gonna have the Shock taking on the Toronto Defiant, and we do actually have Hisu from the Defiant standing by as well with Danny.
Oh wow. Hey.
That's awkward.
그 이제 슈퍼 선수가 토론토 팀을 이제 다음 상대로 고르셨고요. 이유는 이길 확률이 그나마 높지 않을까라고 하셨는데 그거에 대해서 하실 말씀 있나요?
일단 제가 반대로 쇼크 입장이었어도 저희를 고를 것 같고요. 그리고 막상 진짜 저희 뽑았다고 들으니까 뭔가 군대 영장 날라온 느낌이네요. 많이 좀 내일 파이팅 하겠습니다.
Alright, so I asked Hisu, is there anything that you want to say after hearing what Super had to say? And Hisu replied by saying, if I was part of the San Francisco Shock as well, if I was in your shoe, I would have picked Toronto Defiant as well. It sort of feels like I'm getting the letter from the Korean military, because all Korean males have to go to the military service. So it was, something that we couldn't avoid. So we are going to just try our best against the San Francisco Shock.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
Anything you would like to add, Super? Do you want to say anything to Hisu? I can translate for you.
Not really. Just business is business, and see you tomorrow, I guess.
네, 시포 선수가 일은 일이니까 뭐 그냥 그럼 내일 좋은 경기 한번 해보도록 하자고 합니다.
네, 알겠습니다.
Alright, he just says okay.
Very good.
Awkward.
Both for joining us, of course, Super as well as Hisu. Best of luck to both teams for their match tomorrow. It is their chance to make it to the playoffs in Hawaii. So this is how our bracket will look like tomorrow, with all the teams filled in, and we'll determine which two will advance. Now, don't go anywhere, because our best of the day is coming up right after a very quick break.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
love to see that great reaction from the Justice fans in DC. And here, of course, as well, luckily the entire disc were, of course, rooting for the Justice. We knew they can do it, and they got it done. Yeah, that's
wait.
the
Hey, sorry.
Don't worry,
I just want to say, so far, in the play-in predictions, me and Danny are on top, 2-0.
That is true.
That's funny because in the actual predictions, you're
predictions, Danny.
Let's go. We're winning. Let's take it all the way.
Nice.
It's a thing.
We love to see it.
Production
we love to see
is
popping
a
up when it matters.
Production.
That's
I want the crown. If we win, if Johnny and I win, we want the crown, that red crown.
Get the
One
standings.
day in, and
mix
he's
them
asking
up,
for a crown.
Like fix it. Me and Danny were 2-0. Danny.
Even with those predictions right, even if they were to count, neither of you would catch up to me and Custa.
Yeah.
Like we're actually reigning supreme on that scoreboard.
We will
and
be
there's
close.
nothing you can do.
But this is the
it would
play-in
not be close.
predictions leaderboard, okay?
okay.
It's just the play-ins, and me
it's
and
a
Danny
clean,
were in the
yeah,
lead.
it's a clean slate. We're winning.
The 4 matches.
2-0,
that were
2-0.
predicted.
You guys have 1-1, 1-1. Haha, losers.
You want to do APAC too?
Jeez, so aggressive. Well, this is just one of the many great moments throughout the day we have here in the Overwatch League. Thank you once again, everyone. Especially as you know, today in the matches, everything was on the line. So obviously the emotions were boiling high, and that means we saw some great plays and some fantastic whiffs as well on the server. That means there was plenty to choose from for us. So I'm gonna start this one off with Assassin sneaking up on the opposition. I have to make air quotes here because that was about as sneaky as a sledgehammer. So they're going for the decoy teleport, and then he stomps through the hallway and sneaks up on Suna. I mean, no. Like, why is this even working? Like, that was not... No.
The funny thing
it was
is,
so not sneaky.
It's a set play. Like, you can tell they're like, we're going to teleport up here, and Assassin, you're going to sneak as May through this room and then flank somebody.
I can just imagine him as well, just like, why is there a May here? Like, that's a classic. Why is there a May here? Why is he here?
Unexpected.
Why?
Yeah, I didn't see that coming for sure.
No, they don't call him Assassin for nothing.
True.
Yeah, true. That's true. Assassin. Oh! Oh, okay.
Oh my god. No.
Ding!
I hate this post-show. No.
Alright, Alright, let's move on. Right, my turn. My best of the day.
Oh, okay.
Johnny. Alright, my best of the day is Oni God. It was on Temple of Anubis. He should rename his name to Widow God, because he does a little flick shot. And yeah, right there.
Oh,
he's just so fast. So fast, so clean, so crisp.
Sheesh! Assassin with
remember
we're
changing that word to he's?
round 2.
But it's not he's.
Yeah.
No, still, I think he sounds better than sheesh.
Are you gonna say he's
does.
when it's not Hisu?
Yeah. Oh, actually, no, that's the other. Fine. Oni! No,
No.
I don't know if I want to give Oni. I don't know if I want to give Oni God that much credit though. Because I mean, again, like, that was about as sneaky a teleport as like it wasn't. Like, you had no business teleporting up there. Why?
Well, you say that, but
still.
all 4 of us would have missed that shot. All 4 of us would have absolutely whiffed it.
Yeah, but I also
And
don't
we
get
would have died
paid to play with the best in the world. So there's
Well,
that.
I used to, and I would have missed
You
the
used
shot.
to,
Does that count for anything?
I would have hit it.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, of
okay,
course.
Johnny. Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Okay. We're gonna go to my best of the day, and I honestly don't know how this interaction works at all. And this is gonna be Fury, one of the Diva goats, using the remech, but going through a teleporter at the same time. I don't even know where the mech ended up, who it would have hit if anyone was around. If he's just trying to live, I just thought it was neat. So that's half of my best of the days at this point. But this is a really cool tech by Fury.
Shout out to the lower third here too.
Yeah, that was a good one. The sequel coming up to Mad Max's Mad Fury.
Portals. Oh boy. Oh my goodness. Well, let's end the best of the days with just a solid pulse bomb, okay? Because we had a 3K pulse bomb, big explosions. There are no questions here. We don't have to answer anything. The pulse bomb speaks for itself. Big stick by Aspire. Didn't really turn the team fight around. But it's a small big bomb, you know? Like it was neat. It was a big move. You love to see it.
Small big bomb. Is that what you just
Yeah, because a big bomb is a diva bomb. But this is a small bomb that turns big. So I love this, you know? Boston, they stack up in the room. But that's just a smart play from Aspire. He knows what's gonna happen. So he goes in, hits the stick, 3K. Boom!
A little bomb that could.
There you go. I mean, if talent doesn't
Nice.
work out, you can write lower third for a living. There you go.
True. I mean, let me guess, Reinforce, you would have stuck that one too.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He just blinked and pressed Q. There's nothing hard about that.
Wait, didn't we
Right?
see Johnny play DPS in the talent takedown?
He played Genji.
I don't know. It's a never-ending nightmare. I
he
can't
played Tracer
recall
too.
what happened. It was just pain.
I'm not
and
going to
misery.
comment on my performance in the talent takedown.
No, you really shouldn't. Either way, we have more actual legitimate plays, you know, not the talent takedown happening overnight. So let's take a look at the APAC region as they will be playing their play-ins as well to determine which team will make it through. It will be between the Hangzhou Spark and the Philadelphia Fusion to decide that first round, and the winner has the utmost pleasure of taking on the Seoul Dynasty. And the winner of that match will be playing in the playoffs. Love the color coordination there with the Sparkling Fusion. It's very edible.
Yummy.
Just pointing that out. Actually looks delicious. That's my professional commentary on that match. But in all seriousness, are we having a clear favorite here? Do you think this is a clear-cut affair, or do you think they're going to play each other very close?
So I actually think that Seoul Dynasty, I think they're the favorites. You know, they have a great regular season record at 12-4. But Philadelphia are my dark horse, actually, because I think that now when Funny Aster is there, this time around in the Countdown Cup, of course we had a hero pools as well, so there was no Lucio available, no Ashe available. I think unlocking some of those heroes actually really helps the Philadelphia Fusion. This is a team that likes to play aggressive, and if Funny Astro can be on that Lucio and Alarm can do his thing, I actually think the Fusion could be really good here, so I'm keeping my eyes out for an upset there. I guess it's Seoul later in the playing bracket.
Right on. Well, we'll find out tonight.
Playoff P. Johnny, come on.
He is.
It's playoff P.
He is.
It might be over. It might be over.
It might be over.
It might. The playoff P might be. Like that story arc might just, you know, need a boost.
No, have confidence. Remember, Johnny?
I don't know.
Confidence is the key.
It's true.
Okay.
Also, I'm not
kind
sure
of
we
true, to be
should
honest.
stick to the short form there with the play of P, because that just sounds all sort of questionable to me.
Oh,
That
come
might be
on!
because I'm not a native
Come
speaker. Like, I'm
on!
just hearing what you're saying. Like, I don't go for short forms of whatever. Either way, perfect transition into our bracket just to get those thoughts, you know, out of everyone's head. Like, let's wash it clean. Let's have a palate cleanser with a bracket. These are the matches coming at you tomorrow. Toronto Defiant have been picked by the San Francisco Shock, and that leaves the Houston Outlaws to have to deal with playoffs decay, or play-in decay for now, which yeah,
Play in decay. Sounds ferocious.
Well, actually, John Spector, I think, dubbed him Do or Die Decay, since it's play of profit and he needed the D's to, you know. Anyway, Bogries, that's a great nickname. For now, it sticks. Okay. Yeah. Well, do we have any favorites heading into those matches? Do you reckon they're going to be a bit closer than what we saw today, which quite frankly was a bit of a sweep?
Houston, Washington.
Yeah.
Houston,
Are
Washington.
Houston going to bomb out this time around? Oof.
Honestly, Washington looked really good today. I think it's going to be a close match. That Houston versus Washington match is going to be pretty close, I feel like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah?
Well, there's that. For already. Oh,
Bo. Yeah, let's ask Bo.
Well,
Bo, what do you
I'll
think?
hit up Bo for my
Washington.
predictions
Washington's
tomorrow.
better.
Okay.
That's not what I heard, but that's okay. Well, we have a chat with Bo a little bit later, and we'll share it on Twitter, of course. Make sure to follow all of us, including Bo, who doesn't have a Twitter account. Exactly. Don't worry, I give you your shout-outs. Anyway, that's it for the Watchpoint Post Show. Thank you so much for watching. It's time to zoom out, go on your merry ways, and make sure to tune in for the APAC matches. And if you're not, don't worry, we'll catch you up tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Those APAC matches
See you
are going to be
tomorrow,
lit.
everybody.
Tune in.
Watch the APAC.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Stay tuned.
Oh, neat.
It's coming up. Drink some coffee.
Drink some coffee?
Drink a lot of coffee.
That's a
Oh,
weird
too
PSA.
much.
Cappy.